It is 6:02, and we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order, the El Centro City Council on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I apologize for the 2 minutes. We'll try to make it up on the back end. Madam Clerk, if we could please call the roll.
Councilmember Allen,
Present.
Councilmember Camarena,
Present.
Councilmember Marroquin,
Present.
Mayor Potem Carter,
Present.
Mayor Oliva.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and go into the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could all please stand. Caps off if possible, or caps off, please. Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can please remain standing. We will have an invocation by the Mayor Pro Tem.
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come to you simply saying thank you. We ask you to go from the north, the east, the south, and the west, Lord, and just bless all of our sister cities. Bless those that are sick and shut in. Bless this council as we make decisions that are sometimes not all how we want them to be, but we need them to be. And we're asking this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everyone. Please have a seat.
And pioneers.
Appreciate it.
That's my pioneers.
All right, Madam City Clerk, Madam City Attorney, if you could please report on any items related to closed session.
There are no reportable actions from this closed session, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, now we move on to public comments. The City Council welcomes your input, and at this time, members of the public may address the City Council on any matter that is not listed in this posted agenda, but is within our jurisdiction. We ask that you please complete a speaker slip and submit it to the city clerk. That way, we can identify the individual. You don't have to identify yourself, but the speaker slip does assist in the mayor to keep in line of who's next. So are there any members of the public that wish to speak in public comment to this body? Physically present and/or remote?
We have none.
Okay, seeing none, going once, going twice, forever hold your peace or until the next meeting on the 18th. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move forward now to scheduled presentations. This presentation was at my discretion, and that is for certificate of recognition for our El Centro Little League District 22, which are the Section 7 champions, correct?
Woo.
All right. So if I can have the representatives of the league, the coaches, the head coach to come up, what I'd like to ask is if you can present the team members that are present, give us a history of this last year. Tell us about the championship game. If you want to talk about some of the ESPN highlights that some of us may have missed or you would like to relive. Don't be shy. You're only being broadcasted.
What? So I even talked to the president last year, so
Okay.
I'll let that about him.
You can both speak, so don't. It's all good.
So first of all, thank you, Little League and everybody for. I was president for 5 years. It was a good run. It was awesome. Back-to-back champs. Moving forward, this is Robert Cruz, president of El Centro Little League, and vice president Julian Jimenez, and this is a coach Guadalupe Valenzuela. He was also a coach for the championship team this year. So with that, I'll let him do all the introductions, and I just want to say thank you for the city for always supporting us. The only thing I ask before I step away is if somewhere in between all this, you guys could, on your next cycle, help us out with the lights for Frazier Field. It really needs it. It's, especially with tournaments coming and stuff like that. So it could help out the city. and stuff. So, and I want to thank Adriana and yeah, a lot of cheese. Adriana and Javier for always having our back, and all of you guys for always taking care of us. So with that in mind, thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Robert Cruz.
So could I just say that I'm over here indicating to Adriana, like, that means you, and her
Yeah.
response was,
Yeah.
there's a budget request, right?
Yeah,
Which
I mean,
it all comes down to
at
money.
least on the Measure P, I mean, because of everything you guys have done, and then people have seen the improvements, and now we want to, hopefully we can be next in line, or Fraser Field can be next in line to get lights and make it look more
Understood.
pretty and brighter.
Thank you for advocating for that.
So I'll leave it to Robert now.
So to add on to that, I just also want to thank the city of El Centro, since I've been president for 4 months already, and like Adriana, Javier, Lisa at Parks and Rec, they've been wonderful. I'm usually in contact with them on a weekly basis, and I've already seen changes really pretty quick. The snack bar's already been redone, the field's already marked up to get fixed, and it would be nice to, like Ivan added about the lights. I know the city does spend a lot of money already trying to go up there fixing the old lights that are there right now. But I just want to say thank you guys for all your support. Adriana, thank you. I'm going to turn over to Coach Lupe. He was our team manager for the All-Stars, so I'll let him do the introductions.
Nice.
So mine's a little bit longer for the thank yous. Please bear with me. So my name is Guadalupe Valenzuela. I was a junior coach for 2024, along with Peter Marquez and Robert Cruz. I'd like to start off with a question to our players. Who are we?
Easy.
Who are we?
Easy.
Who are we?
Easy.
That's right, EC, the city of El Centro. I'd like to say thank you to all the parents. If it wasn't for the education, dedication, love, and all the time spent to the progress of the athletes, we couldn't have done this. These athletes have been working since very young age, and they've done a great job. To get in there and win the championship at Section 7 was amazing. It was amazing to watch. It was amazing to be a part of. To the community, I want to thank you for the support to all Central programs and that are dedicated to athletics and to many of the forms of art. It's amazing. It takes a community, right? It takes a community to want to do these things, and I hope we've made you proud. The entire city of Centro, I hope we made you proud with these championships that we brought home last year. To the city council and its departments for setting the stage to allow the athletes to perform. The planning, labor, logistics, all of this stuff, all of these things give success to the programs, and they could never go unnoticed. So thank you to city council, and thank you to the departments that helped out. And to the athletes for their dedication to athletics, to academics, day in, day out, tired or not, they showed up and they put in the work, regardless of anything that was going on with them. They came in to practice, and they worked hard every single time and fought adversity and did very, very well. So thank you, athletes. Thanks to the aforementioned efforts to everyone involved, we ended up winning the District 22 championship, which is here in Imperial Valley against the other cities, which makes us very proud. And then the Section 7, which goes all the way to San Diego, which we understand they have better resources, maybe better resources, but the heart of these athletes match up anybody. So they did a great job. Thank you for that. So, having said that, we would like you to know that even though we do love our brothers and sisters across the hill, it's always nice to compete. And it's always nice to show that maybe our city may be considered small, but our intelligence, our talent, our hearts, and our dreams are just as big as anybody's around the world. So once again, I ask you, who are we?
Easy.
Who are we?
Easy.
Who are we?
Easy.
Thank you.
All right. So, if I may, can you pass that over to? Um, I'm going to ask my colleagues to read some names. These are the players that are our champions, and so if my colleagues don't mind, we'd like to go ahead and read out the names of the athletes. If you are here, please feel free to come on up and grab your certificate from the council member that read your name, and please stay up here. Okay, please.
Andre Rodriguez. Adrian Jacobo, Evan Castillo, and Axel Gonzalez.
I'd like to call up Gael Chavez. Ian Rodarte. And Iker Rodriguez.
Can happen. We still read their name.
Yes, okay. Manuel Vasquez at third. Awesome. There you go, young man. Marco Valenzuela. Yeah. Are you the pitcher? No? Okay.
Not this year.
He will be, okay. Mateo Oviedo.
Okay, Isaac Rojas. Javier Reese. Is it Mikey Marquez? Melky Marquez.
Last and certainly not least, we have Isaac Echeverria. So I can hand this to. So at this time, I'm going to ask colleagues to make their statements after, if any words of wisdom that we might have for the players, but I'd like to ask if the president of the league, the coaches can come up here and join us. Emilio? Emilio, are you there? All right, there we go. Picture time. Perfect, thank you. Hold a banner? Watch.
Is that a banner? What did it say? The championship?
Look at that.
Yeah, nice.
Very nice.
Are we gonna get to see that? Emilio, maybe stand on the chair.
Look at Joselito, he's looking.
You look confused, Joselito.
Yeah.
You got it? There you go.
All right, here we go. And thank you.
Oh my gosh, Joselito.
Could you move the thing to the right? I couldn't see the, come on. Come on. No, just the banner.
You say it after the fact. That was hilarious, by the way.
Okay, ready? You're champions. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you.
Yes, something else. Any parents that want to come up and take a picture? Don't be shy. All right. We good? There's going to be some words of wisdom. We're good? All right. Once again, Colleagues, are there any extra comments that any of you would like to share with the athletes, with the coaches, with the Little League staff? You're not required to, but certainly if you'd like to, I'm looking to my right, my left. Sir,
Sure.
go for it.
Coaches, congratulations. Your dedication has paid off, and these young men that you're working with, it's going to make a difference in their lives. Young men working hard, working hard, working hard pays off. God bless you guys.
I would also like to just take the time to thank the staff. You know, the investment that you make in these young men's lives, it makes such a difference. And, you know, I speak from experience. The assistant coach was my son, Alex Camarena up there, and one of them is my grandson, Evan. And, you know, these things that we do, you know, we invest, and my sons played when they were young. And the direction and the skills that they learn from it, it's something they carry throughout their whole lives. So thanks to the parents that sacrifice. I remember what it's like when you're going out to all the games and practices. And I just thank you for supporting the teams. And we just pray that the city can continue to be a rock and the foundation for you guys to help them reach their own goals through the teamwork and the exampleship you all give as coaches. Thank you so much.
You know, and I would just like to say that the teamwork, the collaboration, you know, coming together to reach and attain that goal is really what it's going to be like in the real world when you grow up. Okay, because you know that is how we collaborate and we set goals and we reach them. So, you know, you're just preparing the way for life after school. So thank you and congratulations.
As someone who works at a school, I get to hear often how the kids look up to their mentors, people who guide them, people that lead them, people that strengthen them. The kids have a really, really strong output on how people mentor them, and it goes with them for a long, long ways. I honestly speak from the bottom of my heart. Behind every child is a good person that is leading them. Please keep doing what you're doing, because without you, there would be no them. Thank you.
So I will sum up to the staff. I sincerely would like to thank you for the time that you dedicate to invest in the youth and to invest in these athletes. I think that with your direction, with your coaching, you're allowing them to see what they can achieve, whether they believe it or not, right? You're allowing them to move the goalposts as to understanding their full potential in life, and that sports is just one piece of it, right? But if you weren't there, where would they be? What would they be doing? And we certainly, as adults, know that we would like them to learn these skills and that we would like them to be doing this rather than some other things. And so to the parents that are here, thank you for choosing to invest their time in to developing to be great young athletes and young stewards of this community. But so first and foremost, thank you. To the athletes, let me speak to you directly, and that is, we are very proud of you. We're proud of you because you're achieving something. Being a champion is great. It's bragging rights, right? But it also reflects to us that you push the envelope in terms of what you thought you can do. You learn to do more. And that is something that you're going to continue to learn throughout your life. You're going to say to yourself, I can't. And then somebody's going to remind you that you can, right? And it's beyond what you thought. And I want you to always remember something. As an adult, I can look at every single adult in this room and basically understand that they could literally be doing anything else. Every single adult in this room could literally be doing anything else. But they're choosing to put it to good use towards your betterment. And I'd like you to always remember that, whether it's your coaches, your parents, they're investing in you. And so I ask that you do right by them, that you remember that, and that you continue to behave in a way that they will honor and respect, right? That you are doing right by your parents. And I want to just highlight one little thing here. Earlier, we were kind of joking around about the lights at Fraser Park, right? And I look at staff and she says money. I want you to understand what that means. It's not like we have endless money here. And so if this council at some point in the future were to decide that you and other of your classmates and colleagues are, important enough or are valued enough, are merit for us to decide to put money into the lights, guess what? That means there is something else that doesn't get that money. There is literally, like I said, we could all be doing other things. That money can go everywhere. And so if we decide one day for it to go to that, it's because, again, it's an investment in you. It's hoping that you do right by us in this investment. And so it's not just us, but please remember that with your parents. And as you move forward, make sure that you are good residents of this community, that you continue to be the best that you can be, and that you continue to make us proud. And we will continue to do that with you also. Congratulations once again on being champions, and hopefully you are able to say that again in the next season. So thanks for being great athletes. Felicidades. I mean it. Thank you so much, coaches, for that. I will give just one last ask for anybody that wanted to, in the staff, to say anything to the athletes. If not, we will continue to the, yes, go for it.
While they're walking up, Mayor, may I say something else to the children?
Sure.
Grades are important. Your teachers stress, your parents stress. Grades, I can't express that enough. By working at the school, I see a lot of kids that are putting in the effort to get good grades because they want to go out and play sports. They want to do things. I understand your struggle. And we grew up in a time where math isn't where like it is today. Math is difficult. I agree with you. But you really have to keep on pushing, because if you want to be successful in life, it's not about out there on that field or out there on the courts or wherever you decide to play, whatever sport, but it starts in your classrooms. So keep on keeping your good grades up. If you need help, don't be afraid to ask. If you need to stay after school, make sure you do that. But just keep on pushing towards getting your education and being successful. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, so one last thing, players. I know I've been with some of you, Manny, Andre, who else? For 8 years. I've been around you guys since I started my Little League journey. Ivan, too. I wouldn't be a president right now, a coach at Centro, a coach of Little League without Ivan, Manny, another big supporter, and Coach Lupe, helping me get better in life. You players, it's kind of a little emotional because, like, Andre, Manny, even though I got you guys back in high school, but I still remember you guys minor B, minor A. Isaac, Marco, I got you guys 2-3 years ago, but we're already family. And I just hope we could bring a Marco, Isaac. You're gonna be our 2 returners next year, or for this season coming up. To bring another championship back to El Centro. Sound good, guys? Three teams.
All right.
Go 3 teams. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Once and final time, congratulations, athletes. Colleagues, we're going to go ahead and move on now to the consent agenda. And I apologize for the abrupt switch, but we got some stuff we need to take care of today. So now we're on item number 2, which is resolution number 25-006. Resolution of the City Council approving an agreement with Aviat US Inc., authorizing the purchase of equipment for police station project, as well as item number 3, minutes of the January 21st meeting. Any questions for staff? Otherwise, is there a will of the body for the consent agenda items 2 and 3?
I will motion to approve.
Okay, we have a
Consent
motion to
agenda.
approve
A
consent
second.
agenda. We have a second by Camarena. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. If you all caught that glitch.
I
it was
know.
funny. All right, so consent agenda passes 5-0. Thank you, colleagues. Now we move on to the public hearing. This is items 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to have presentations from staff colleagues, and then we'll open the public comment, public hearing. And after all of the public comments, we'll bring it back to council for any questions to staff. So we will begin with staff presentation. So Angel, whenever you're ready.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, and members of City Council. This presentation, will be covering items 4 through 7 of the council agenda, and it's regarding the Willow Bend tentative subdivision map. This is a map that was first approved by the City Council in 2007, and it has been, I think in the last 5 years, every three times it's been before to extend the life of that map. And since the last time that it was extended, there's been a new property owner, and he is proposing changes to the map that was previously approved in 2007. And the goal of this public hearing today is present those changes and then ratify them with your consent. So to go over where the site's located at. So this is a map of the southern central area of the city of El Centro. The project site is outlined in white, and it's located east of 4th Street, about 630 feet south of Horn Road, 38 acres. The general plan land use designation is a single family. And as you can see, it's outside the city limits, so it would need to be annexed. It is adjacent to the city limits. To the north is the Horn Road rural residential area, and to the south and west you have agricultural fields, and to the east you have the Countryside Estates subdivision. So on the screen right now is what the applicant's proposing to develop. It includes 120 lots, a 1.37 acre park, a 1.4 acre retention basin. So the park is essentially located. The retention basin is going to be along the northern side of the project site. They are also going to be extending water and sewer services from existing locations that are on 4th Street. And there will also be extending Countryside Drive, which is this southern roadway right here from 4th Street, and it'll be ending right here, crossing the date drain. So for the project to move forward, it will require these approvals from the City Council. One is to approve an addendum to the 2007 Environmental Impact Report. Another is a resolution to approve the amendments to the conditions of approval from 2007. And these next two items would facilitate the annexation. One is to adopt an ordinance to pre-zone the area to R1 single family. So that's basically once it gets annexed, it would be R1 zoning. And the last one is to basically consent to the annexation of this area into the city of El Centro. Now that's of course is subject to LAFCO approval. That'd be the city's initiation and consent that they're okay with annexing the area. On the screen is the original tentative subdivision map from 2007. The table kind of shows you the major differences. So initially, the 2007 map was proposing 134 lots. The current version is 120. The park was also 1.62 acres. That was going to be located on top of the date drain in this area. And the date drain, which is one of the major changes to the conditions approval, was proposed to be undergrounded with the retention basin and the park to be above, in addition to some homes that are located right here. So right now, the proposal that's before the planning to City Council is to keep that drain open, secured with fencing, where it's going to be abutting the city street. Regarding roadways, so we have Countryside with the previous iteration of the map. It was going to have a traffic signal right here on 4th Street at that intersection. And also the previous conditions of approval also, the previous version of the map also had Willow Bend extending all the way to the westward to the neighboring property. What's being proposed right now is to install at the minimum an always stop sign on Countryside Drive and 4th Street. This is a Caltrans controlled intersection, the entire segment, so it's still contingent upon Caltrans. I'll go more over that later. I don't know if there's any questions right now of what I've discussed so far. No.
The
Yes, sir.
number of rooms, the dwellings? How many rooms? How many bathrooms? How many rooms? How many?
There, I think the applicant could discuss about that, but I think the maximum size that he's planning is 1,800 square feet, single stories. But I think he has some plans that he could show the group. But at this time, I don't know how many bedrooms.
We don't know?
No. So right now, we're just looking at the subdivision map. They still need to submit the building plans to be reviewed and approved. And
Let me
we have,
ask
I think we
you-
have a variety of floor plans.
Okay, but what I'm getting at, well, let's say like how many, a driveway, is it for 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars? That's what I'm getting at in the
Okay.
occupancy for
Yeah, so
these lots.
so they would have a minimum of 2-car garage. But the bedroom count could range from 3 to 4, depending on the floor plan.
Is there developers here that can tell
Um,
us like the number of rooms in these dwellings?
Yes, yes.
Who's here?
So typically the applicant would state that during the public hearing, but I don't know if you want to have them speak right now.
Let me, Mr. Ellett, if you don't mind, what we're going to do is, just out of procedure, allow the public to make a comment. We're going to open up the public hearing,
Okay.
allow the public, and then
Let him do his
after
presentation
that, then
first.
we have full reign to ask our questions.
Thank you.
So if you don't mind indulging me in.
I'll retract my question.
No, not at all. Just, we'll push pause, certainly come back to you as soon
Okay.
as we close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Can you remember to bring
Yes,
that up as
I
well
will.
for Mr.
Thank you.
Ellett's point?
Thank you, Angel.
Go for it, continue.
Okay, on the next couple of slides, we'll be going over the major changes to the conditions of approval. So conditions 3 and 11, they were concentrating on traffic improvements, and namely fair share. So the project wasn't required to actually build these improvements. They were just had to provide a fair share amount to the city to make these improvements. They could range from 3 to 50% for like different intersections, mainly along SR86 4th Street. So those majority of those conditions were removed, with the exception of condition number 10, which covered the widening of 4th Street. So that was being retained, and it's being specified that that 4th Street would need to be widened along the project frontage. And the reason for that is we had to redo the traffic study for this iteration of the plan, and it concluded that the intersections and segments, they operate at an acceptable level of service with the project in operation. Something to keep in mind is when these conditions of approval were approved in 2007, they did traffic studies in 2006. This is a time when there was a lot of projects that were being proposed, planned in the area south of El Centro, in the area around Heber, north of Coletsko, that basically there was a lot of traffic generation that was taken consideration at that time. So since then, there's been a lot of unrealized growth that traffic didn't plan out, didn't materialize. So that's one of the reasons why these the new traffic study concluded that these intersections still will operate with an acceptable level of service. Another reason is some of these improvements have already been completed. One partial improvement was the signalization of McCabe Road and SR86, some left turn lanes along 4th Street at Wake Avenue, and also on 4th Street and the Interstate 8 intersection. A lot of those improvements were done after 2007. Condition number 12, that's one of the major ones that I want to highlight. The condition number 12 required an installation of a traffic signal at Whitlow Bend and 4th Street. So that was modified to at the minimum require an always stop sign. Now, this is still subject to Caltrans approval. We're in the latter stages of having the applicant submit plans and studies to Caltrans to determine the appropriate intersection treatment. Condition number 17, that's another major one, I'll say, that required the undergrounding of the date drain. That's that drain that borders the property to the north and to the west. Kind of see it, this line right here. So the previous condition required that it be covered, and that's where a park was going to be installed and also the retention basin. What's being proposed that it be modified to be to remain open, with the condition that there be a some type of fencing to control the access on the areas where it would be fronting a street. The other area, go back to this map, would have that one. So this is the area where it would be adjacent to a street. So there'd be like a 3-rail fence along this sidewalk right here. This other area right here on the northern side, that would be the retention basin. So there would be a wrought iron fence, so that kind of control access to the drain. And that'd be a similar condition that other projects in El Centro have developed with, and also other projects in surrounding cities. One of the major reasons to do this is there is a major cost to underground that day drain, and some feasibility concerns about undergrounding it, and also how feasible it is to install a park and retention basin over it. Okay, the last two conditions that I want to cover is it's also regarding the date drain. The previous condition required that the date drain maintain the existing flow rates. The reason for that is whenever you pipeline a drain, you're restricting how much capacity it has. So that was a condition to make sure that it addresses that. That's being modified to just underground the portion of the date drain where Countryside Drive will cross. That condition will be triggered whenever the 100th home is complete, and the staff is recommending that there be a ACA contribution to this improvement related to the pipeline, the date drain of $325,000. So the reason is Countryside Drive it's an arterial roadway. It's one of the major roadways on the south side of town, connecting 4th Street to 8th Street, and eventually pass on to the Bridge Street whenever the westward development occurs. And this will facilitate also access to another subdivision that was submitted late last year. That's under plan review. They would also benefit from that improvement as another access. And the city in the past has contributed towards canal and drain relocations whenever there's a conflict between a major roadway and an IED maintained canal or drain. The latest one was for the Penske site on Dogwood and Main Street. And condition number 29, the original condition required that a 1.6 acre piece of property be dedicated for a park space. So that's being modified to require the dedication of a 1.3 acre park. We also specify what type of improvements that we want to see: multi-use grass field, lighting, hard surface court, a walking path, picnic and playground area. And the reason is with the date drain no longer being undergrounded, we wanted to ensure that there's a park space, so that's being relocated to the center, which would also improve the residents' access to that park since it'd be more centralized. So the lots that are being proposed are between 6,020 up to 8,292 square feet. That's a lot size. The applicants are proposing single-story, single-family residences with 2-car garage, driveways, landscaping in the front. This type of development is consistent with the general plan land use designation of the area. Regarding some of the infrastructure requirements, so it'll be connected to existing water infrastructure that's available currently on 4th Street. The sewer line for the project will connect to what's the Southern Pump Station project that's currently under construction. And the project also proposing to install basically trunk lanes, extensions to facilitate growth to the south and to the west. So you can kind of see this is a screenshot of the sewer master plan, and the area outlined in red is a project site, and that 12-inch line is will be one of the major sewer lines extending south of the area. So they will be installing that along one of the streets. And what's also not shown in this map is also extension of a sewer line along Countryside, which will allow this property, which it's planned for another subdivision to connect to that. Okay. So a couple of things. As I mentioned, the drainage would be along the northern property line. The detention basin would be secured by a wrought iron fence, so it wouldn't be open to the public. As I mentioned, the day drain will remain open. There'll be no residences, no homes that would be abutting the drain. Regarding park and landscaping, there would be required to dedicate and install a 1.37 acre park. The park that's on the Able Community Park, that's the Legacy Park. Now, that's slightly bigger than what's being proposed, but it'd be very similar in improvements with grass, playground, some picnic areas, and a path. There's also a condition to require the project's frontage along 4th Street to be landscaped similar to how it is on Countryside on the east side of 4th Street. And the park, the landscape improvements would be maintained through a lighting and landscape maintenance district. So one of the major areas that we looked at is the transportation, because the majority of the changes regarding traffic. So the staff commissioned a traffic study to be updated and evaluate the conditions of approval. And as I mentioned, the original traffic study was done in 2006. The project was approved in 2007. At that time, there was a lot of growth that was planned out in the area that didn't materialize. Access to the site would be via 2 driveways. One would be off of Willow Bend Drive, and the other one would be off of Countryside Drive. Willow Bend Drive would be restricted, meaning it would be just left, right in, right out. People wouldn't be able to make left turns leaving Willow Bend to go north into town. Countryside Drive, that's the southern access to the project site. That'll be the principal ingress and egress to the project site. At the minimum, it'll be an all-way stop sign. This is all contingent on what Caltrans will accept. Right now we're currently going through it's called an intersection control evaluation, and that might require something that might be a roundabout, that they might also be a traffic signal. As staff are kind of avoiding the roundabout due to just the size that it would take up in the area. There are also questions about how much right of way would need to be dedicated, existing right of way that wouldn't be used anymore, and also concerns regarding the use of the road by farm equipment and commercial traffic. And the other aspect of the transportation that should be pointed out is that on the bottom is a screenshot of our roadway plan with the project site outlined in red, and this dashed line that's Countryside. So it will be eventually connect 4th Street, SR 6, all the way to the existing street Valley View and connecting Per Avenue. So it would be kind of a major east-west connection whenever growth goes southward of the city. Okay. So the changes from the 2007 Willow Bend project still require that we evaluate these changes under the California Environmental Quality Act. The City Council certified an environmental impact report in 2007, and staff determined that an addendum to that 2007 EIR be warranted, and the addendum to the previously certified EIR is allowed whenever the changes do not result in a significant environmental effect beyond what was already identified. The major changes is regarding the traffic, as was demonstrated in the staff report. The number of homes was diminished. A lot of the cumulative growth, the growth that was planned out in the area and that was studied back then did not materialize. So we went forward with the addendum to the EIR. Public noticing. So a public notice was sent out to surrounding property owners and published in the Imperial Valley Press on November 29th. That was before the Planning Commission public hearing in December, and also just the last time in January 24 of this year. We had a public hearing before the Planning Commission on December 10. We did receive one comment from the owner of the area outlined in yellow. He's also a current applicant that's proposing, I think it's like around 118 home subdivision in that area outlined in yellow. And he just had questions and concerns about the any costs that he might be liable for the extension of sewer through Countryside that he would be used, but overall, it was sort of part of the project. And just to be upfront, we did receive a comment before the meeting about concerns regarding the intersection of Fourth Street and also Countryside, how at this time, Caltrans has not reviewed or give a final determination on what type of intersection that would be. And we have a public hearing scheduled for today. So assuming that the city council moves forward with the project will go before LAFCO sometime maybe February or March of this year. The applicant will still need to submit an annexation map and final map to record and annex the properties and subdivide the properties. Applicant would be submitting grading, improvement plans, building plans to the city for review and approval. And the question about the applicant would still need to submit encroachment permits to Caltrans because he'll be accessing the project from SR 86. With that, staff recommends that the city council open the public hearing and consider approval of these 4 items: the addendum to the EIR, the amendments to the conditions of approval for Willow Bend, the pre-zoning of the project site to R1, and also consent that the site becomes annexed into the city. With that, could answer any questions?
Thank you, Angel. So colleagues, we will go ahead and open the public hearing. I do have one quick question. Does this presentation, Angel, cover all of the items, or will you have separate presentations for the separate
This
items?
covers all the items 4 through 7.
Okay. So we're going to take each one individually, colleagues. So first, let me go ahead and open the public hearing to consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission approving an addendum to the final environmental impact report for the Willow Bend tentative subdivision map. This is Resolution 25-07. Public hearing is now open. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak on this item? Sir.
Good evening. My name is Marty Coyne. I am the applicant and the owner of the property of Willow Bend. I'm here to answer any questions you guys may have today. I'm sorry? I do. I want to apologize. I haven't had a chance to get to meet all of you. Looks like everybody's busy, and congratulate you guys coming as new election and coming to the city council. So what I did, I don't know you yet. Maybe you don't know quite who I am. I prepared a slight presentation, a couple, 3 minutes, kind of give you an idea what we do locally and for the community. And then I'd be happy to answer any questions if you like. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Do I have the, okay, so just so you know, I own Coin Power Sports. I've been in business here in the city of El Centro under the motorcycle dealership since 1981, 43 years. If you recall, we were on Imperial Avenue. 2017, we took a dilapidated, shut down old car dealership and turned it back into something and developed that which we call the Coin Power Sports Center. We did a parcel map. I was responsible for not only building the Coin Power Sports, but we also put a Starbucks there, did a Panera, and also did the Habit Burger. In doing so, city was a great partner in that. We probably created 150 jobs between all the stores, created sales tax income for the city. And I think I got something like Business of the Year in that year, 2017. But we're very proud of that project. If you remember, that was kind of an ugly corner for quite a few years. And if you really want to turn the clock back, I'm the gentleman that started and developed Countryside Estates, which is just across the street here from Willow Bend. I started in 2002, was building it out. That's kind of the top of the market at about halfway. That actually represents phase 1 was 330 lots. Phase 2 was about another 150 when I got about probably 2/3 or at least a third, close to 2/3 through it. All the public companies were coming in. So I thought, well, what's this little motorcycle guy doing competing with all these big home companies? And so I ended up selling out to Pulte Homes in 2004 and they finished it out. And it is what you see today, but I was the designer of it. I think we're very proud of it. It's a very nice subdivision in the city, and that's what we want to continue across the street at Willow Bend. But with that said, I'll kind of give you just a short presentation and answer any questions you may have. Let's see. Oh. Let's see, can you spin it for me? Dead or? Okie doke. Anyway, so just a short version. I've been in the motorcycle business 53 years, 43 down here in El Centro. We do own another dealership up in Riverside County in Banning, California. But as I stated earlier, we started developing in, I believe Countryside was one of our first developments, maybe Ironwood Acre Estates in Imperial or in the county. So you can see, besides Countryside Estates, which goes back in the years, the last few years, before the crash and then after the crash, you can see some projects that we've done. Morningside Apartment Homes at 186 units. We built phase one of 120 units in 2017, added another 64 units, and it stands today at the corner of the Brucherie and Treschel Road. So affordable apartments. It's not low income, but it's market affordable apartments. Latigo Ranch is our latest subdivision. It was one of those abandoned subdivisions that everybody quit on, similar to Willow Bend in the crash of the market. We took that, we worked, Mr. Tyler Salcedo here is from the city of Brawley back then, worked with him to bring that back to life and fruition. We finished it out as 243 homes, and that's just an example of what we did. We're very proud of that subdivision, and I believe the city of Brawley is as well. And then through the years, you see Mayfield Ranch, that was another rescue subdivision, I guess the term we use, and then Savannah Ranch. You're familiar with that subdivision, Imperial. I had actually did that back in the early 2000s. And when Pulte bought out the section here over here, they also bought that development from me when we were part of the way through. So with that, I'll go forward to the next one. And then I was just speaking shortly on our commercial developments. As I spoke earlier, Habit Burger, Panera Bread. We did a parcel map. And then of course, Coin Power Sports, we took and grew the business. We had run out of space as the vehicles have gotten larger, as you know, over the years. When we moved and worked with the city and staff on that, we doubled our sales, double sales tax coming into the city, and added about 40% more jobs. So we are very pleased with our location. And now it's such an easy on, easy off the freeway. We get all that out of town business that stops and spends their money here in El Centro and their sales tax dollars. It's easy to pull off, get something to eat real quick, get their parts or buy a new unit. So it's been a benefit not only for us, but the city and the community as well. And then last but not least, the most important part that we really take claim to providing for the community is, and my son was involved in that, Strike Zone Bowling Alley. If you recall, in 2016, it abruptly shut down. They filed bankruptcy and shut it down. And my goal was just to try to save it for the community. So the bank was going to liquidate it. Liquidators going to come in and strip it down. I bought it at the courthouse steps, opened it back up in 2017. We ran it for a while. Not my cup of tea, and my plate was pretty full at the time. We arranged to make a transition and sold it to ARC, which is a nonprofit. And so over the last number of years, they've employed disabled people, military people. And so that was something that was created by me, some other local business. So just kind of give you an idea of what we've done in the community. So here you got 40 acres as it stands today. You can see Countryside Estates to the right there. And again, that is now a built-out subdivision for a number of years. And everybody had the same concerns because that was one of the largest subdivisions at the time, concerned about traffic and everything. So here we are 20 years later, 500 houses there. And I was knocking on doors on Horn Road, talking to the folks because nobody wanted to have their rural taken away from them. So here we are 20 years later, a very successful subdivision. I believe it's been good for the community. And we'd like to do the same thing across the street and provide the same type of house. So, that's go to the next slide, if you would, please. Here's our phasing map. If you notice in his presentation, we went from 134 lots to 120 so we can create that community playground in the center of the subdivision. That was important when I met with previous council members and previous mayors. And so we think we got a good plan. That's also going to include a bus stop for school buses to pick up the kids there on a daily basis as well. We have phasing. All developers kind of build in phases. Our success rate in Brawley at the time of the height of the market, and we're hoping to see that again, is things were so good and demand was so great, and we had a very nice product that we were building about 50 houses at a time, and that's our goal to rock and roll here in the city of El Centro. Now, while we're on this, I do want to point out I've been part of the community for a long time, and I think over the last number of years, we've been invited by many mayors of the city of El Centro to developer meetings. Why won't you build in our town? We need built new homes in our town. And we finally made it back to El Centro. So we've done stuff in Imperial. We've done it all over the place. I probably wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for your great staff and your planning department and your public works department. They've been responsive, supportive, have worked with us to take these abandoned subdivisions and turn them back and revitalize them and turn them back into reality. Turning an old subdivision with a bunch of old conditions that doesn't really apply to today's market is actually tougher than starting out at ground zero with just dirt and starting fresh and brand new. So it really takes a partnership with communities or cities and a developer, somebody local that cares to make these things happen. In our track record, this will be probably our 7th or 8th one. We've done one in Brawley, we've done 3 or 4 in the city of Imperial, and we're actually working with your staff right now on another one here in the city of El Centro. I think that you'll be excited about that we can share with you on a later date. But getting back to this, next slide. Okay, and this will just give you an idea. You know, we all know that probably 70% of our demographics here in the Valley can only afford entry-level homes. So we try to deliver a vast array of homes that fit everybody's needs. So this is what we just did in Brawley. We're going to use similar. We're going to kind of update the colors and everything. We finished building 150 of these in Brawley. This is just our plan one. It's a basic 3-bedroom, 1,240 square feet that fits any family at affordable rate. Unfortunately, after inflation and COVID and all those kind of things, my goal was to have a $299,000 house in Brawley when we started in 2019, 2020. Ended up being $319,000. And here we are rolling the clock forward to where we are today. That same product, unless we see changes in the material market, everything that's going on, would probably be in the $399,000 or maybe a tad over $400,000 range. Not because we're making more money, but as we all know, inflation, and we're fighting that on a daily basis. If you want to roll to the next one, so that's our entry-level 3-bedroom, 2 elevations, different styles. This is our 4-bedroom entry-level, about 1,400 square feet. We're hoping that would be a tad over $400,000, but unfortunately, that's where we're at in today's market with the costs. And then rolling forward, we have a larger 4-bedroom, 1,600 square feet. And I believe Mr. Elliott had asked about garage and type, and hopefully this answers all your questions. This is your typical middle-end subdivision. So you're going to have a 2-car garage, 3 bedrooms. We don't have 2 bedrooms. And I think maybe we have a new plan I'll show you on the next screen, but give you an idea of parking. So you have 2 driveway parking, 2 inside car garage kind of thing. We don't have a colored rendering of this. This is our new plan. We've thought deep. There are a few bigger lots in the subdivision. So we decided, one, stay single story. That seems to be the kind of the demand and going forward. This plan was designed 2 ways. A 3-car garage, 2,100 square feet. I believe 4 bedroom and maybe an option for a 5th if you take the study out of there. And then we created a casita. So this would be a 2,100 square foot 2-car garage, or you have the option to make it a 2,300 living square foot home and make the 3rd car garage a casita where a relative or, you know, college kid back from school or something can stay. And so we're pretty excited about that plan, at that option. That'll be brand new built that we've never built anywhere before, but we're excited about it and we think it'll be good. You know, so the plan 3, we're thinking probably would be mid-4s, and we're trying to keep this in the sub-5s and maybe a tad over based on where the market is when we go out to bid. But go forward. And then this just kind of give you an example. I got some great graphics people that works for me. I'll introduce who's in the audience for us today, but this is what that 40 acres would look like, hopefully by fall of 2026 at built out phase. So just kind of give you an idea. That's the park that we were talking about. And yeah, we're excited about it. And then next one, please. So the conclusion at all, we're asking the city to support our Willow Bend homes with our goals to accomplish the following objectives. Create an affordable, beautiful community, use local vendors and subcontractors whenever we can. We strive hard to do that, but sometimes they're not always available locally as some of the stuff we do. Our goal is to increase the city of El Centro's desirability with new homes. El Centro hasn't had a lot of new subdivisions over the last number of years. And of course, by doing so, we would be increasing the revenue to the city with development and construction costs, income, permits and impact fees, property and sales tax dollars by adding to your population, additional retail spending dollars. And of course, we've always supported the schools, great revenue and support for local school districts, which we've done quite a bit. We've bought in buses, we've given them Kawasaki mules for the football fields and all kinds of great stuff. But and then, so with that, just real quick, I wanted to introduce, we have our consultant, Tom DeBose, who's our civil engineer consultant in the audience. If you have any questions for him, we got one of our project managers, Fernando Armanto, Armenta. And then we've just recently, the retired CEO of the County of Imperial, Ralph Cordova, has joined our team as kind of our VP of operations. And we're excited to start and hopefully continue to build in El Centro for a long time. And again, getting back to staff, we wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for their help and support and being responsive. These days, it's competitive. It's tough to develop, as you know. It's nice to have a city that supports and is responsive to get projects up and running, because it's not an easy fate. Speaking of traffic, though, real quick, we're dealing with Caltrans. We've been pushing for this for the last 2 years. We are on our 3rd or 4th study with Caltrans. We are probably at the tune of about $50,000 invested in those studies, just to kind of give you an idea. And we think we're going to get it right, but the consultants that your staff has hired says there's not enough warrants for signal light, but they still are asking for a $2 million signal light. The problem is, if it was a 500 or 600 home subdivision, you split that between 500 or 600 homes, because all developers do is pass those cots on, right? So on 100 homes at $2 million, I'd have to sell the house without anything else, another $20,000 or $25,000 just to cover that signal. So we get it if there's a need. We don't see, if you look back, how much that area has grown in the last 20 years since I built Countryside. Nothing to the south, nothing to the west. So to ask your community and the people that want to live in El Centro, and we get asked all the time to pay $25,000 or $30,000 more for a home because there's a signal light there, where all the studies say it doesn't warrant it, just doesn't make sense. And it's a slow go with Caltrans to get them to convince there, and hopefully we're going to get there. And as far as, let's see, do I have anything else on the conclusion? I think it was just a thank you at the end. I want to make sure I'm not missing out on anything. It's a marathon to get these projects approved these days, especially if they're abandoned subdivisions since the crash of the market. We've been very fortunate enough. We have local lenders that participate, that want to see our communities grow. They want to keep their loans local. They want to keep everything local, and we are local. I think that's one of the reasons the city of Brawley went with us. They had a lot of syndicators and developers from out of town that made all these promises, but Brawley took a chance with me on the Latigo Ranch subdivision, which was right behind Walmart. McMillan Homes built 18 homes, and they walked away from it. So from 2006 or 7 till I took it over 2019, it became homeless camps, basically a dump full of weeds, fire hazard. We came in and corrected all that, and I really encourage you guys to take a drive by there and take a look at it someday. The future here in El Centro, we feel welcome here. We are working on a multifamily project. Hopefully inflation materials are going to come down a little bit. We do like to build some more affordable apartments. We are in building permit right now for 176 units. And the only thing that's stopping us is cost, because we want to deliver product at a reasonable price to the community. You familiar with that? Across the street from Grosso's. The other thing that's really, I think, helpful to you guys, and most of you are probably familiar with it, we're here to help the city obtain their housing element quotas, I guess, from the state of California. And hopefully this will be a good start. And the other project we're looking at is we're looking at quite a few more homes than 120 here in the El Centro. So our goal is, once we start, we don't want to stop. And hopefully it's going to be one of many. And with that, I'll open it up and see if you guys have any questions. And thank you so much for your time.
Right. A lot of information, Mr. Klein. Really appreciate it, though.
Sorry, maybe
No,
too
this
much.
is great.
Just shut me up next time.
This is great. And, I appreciate the fact that you made up for the fact that a lot of times we have public hearings, nobody shows up. And so you came in with a presentation and everything. I commend you for that.
Yeah, I feel you want to be educated. You
No,
want to know.
that's great. That's great. So we're going to go ahead and take any other additional public comments before we move forward to members' questions. So is there any other member of the public that wishes to enter a public comment related to item number 4? And this is the final environmental impact report. Okay, seeing none physically present, is anybody participating remotely? Seeing none, okay, we're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. Now bring it back to council. And so, colleagues, if there are any questions, I know, Mr. Elliott, I'm going to just defer to you in case you had any follow-up questions for staff or for the developer.
Thank you, Mr. Coyne. Appreciate your effort, your investment, and dealing with this for, knowing your business, all these years. And I really sympathize with you having to work with Caltrans. But that is my concern. How many homes do you have across the street from 86 there?
First phase that I built and started in 2002 or 3, it was 330. My memory serves me right. And then we bought the other 40 acres to the south, which is called Legacy. And I believe that was like 160, so almost 500 homes.
That's what I was thinking, close to 500 homes.
Yes, sir.
And you're going to add another 120 homes across the street, going west. I'm very concerned about the traffic. Because if you go back, Angel, to that intersection, maybe you can explain that better, what you've got planned for the intersection. It's got a four-way stop and, 3 lanes?
Are you asking me or Angel?
Well, whoever's got the plan.
I got some answers.
Okay. So on the screen is the slide covering over the ingress and egress to the project site. The 4th Street, the section fronting the project site will be a 4-lane. Currently is 2 lanes going northbound and 1 lane going southbound. So that'd be expanded to 2 lanes going on either side with curbway or sidewalk on the west side of that roadway of fronting the applicant's project site. At the driveways, there'll be 2 driveways. The northern side would be Willow Bend.
Yes.
I'll go back to like another map. Yeah, right there. Okay, so Willow Bend, this is this would be a right in, right out. So folks leaving it would not be able to make a left-hand turn. They would have to go southbound. If they want to go into town to El Centro or go to the freeway, they would have to use Countryside Drive. And that would be at the minimum a 4-way stop sign.
These are the only 2 entrances and exits on Highway 86 here then. That's the only 2 entrance exits?
Yes.
There's nothing down in the southwest corner?
This right here? No, because this is a, go back to another screen.
Yeah.
So this is Highway 86. This is a neighboring property. So eventually it's called Countryside would go over here and then connect to this street. So that's how we'll have access eventually to 8th Street.
Well, you see my concern. There's two entrances, 2 exits. There's 500 houses across the street and 120. If people had 3 cars, which is not unusual, that'd be another 360 cars to contend with. So that's my concern.
So there's other intersections to, there's access off of Farnsworth for the people living at Countryside Estates. There's
yes, they can go out the other side.
So there's other ways to disperse the traffic. But we also did, like I mentioned, we did the traffic study.
So go back to that intersection. You're saying there's how many lanes now? Right now, there's only 1 lane going each way, right?
No, there's, kind of see right, there's 2 lanes going north and only 1 lane going south. So that'd be expanded to 2 lanes going south.
Is the road actually going to be expanded then with Caltrans? You actually got that permit then? That's great. So there's going to be 4 lanes for just that space of the development, not beyond.
Yes,
that.
between Countryside and Willow Bend. So sorry for going through all these slides so quickly, but it's this section of Countryside between Willow Bend and Countryside.
Okay, right. And then it goes back to what, 2 lanes after that, going to Hebert?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know that both of you guys, I'm sure, are very, very aware of, the Ross going west out to Austin and how people's front yards and their cars are parked right on the edge of a very narrow street that does have at least 3 lanes, but there's no way those 3 lanes. It's like there should be a left-hand turn if there's a 3rd lane in the middle. There's no left turn, and and then on the other side of the street, we have cement pylons protecting the utility poles, it's so narrow. And it's been like that for, how long has that Plank Park been there? Has it been 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
Yes, it's been around a time, and that subdivision has been
Yeah,
there
my
for.
question is, how long do you think it's gonna be like that? It's gonna be like that for a long time, until someone, buries the utility lines, uses that farmland. In other words, whoever put that development in and got the okay for that, it seemed like, they were landlocked. We're not landlocked. And I understand developers' concern, they gotta get enough units, squished into their development to make it worth their while. But if you can't have like transportation in and out, it's really difficult. It's gonna be like that forever. Do you know what I mean? So I'm wondering, I know you've done traffic studies. I just wonder, if Chief Bernal has looked at this and, the safety of these two entrances, two exits, and servicing 120, homes there. That's my concern.
Hi, good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. So we're discussing traffic, so I figured I jump into the conversation. So thank you. This has been very widely studied, as mentioned by the developer. It's already spent close to $50,000 updating traffic studies and report. The traffic studies, when looked at in environmental context, they take a look at not only this project, but the projects surrounding it. They assume so many trips per household, so many trips per commercial development. There's formulas to define that and how that distribution will happen and disperse based off areas of interest. For example, for this subdivision here, it is assumed that a lot of the traffic will want to go into town, right? So that's where they're
Go to
going
work, yes.
to go to work.
All at the same time.
Exactly. Well, there's peak hours and then regular hours. This is all reviewed as part of the traffic study. The traffic study has average daily traffic, which is the overall traffic throughout the day, and then peak hour traffics. Peak hour is basically your morning commute, your evening, your school. So intersection improvements are based on that heavy load on peak traffic. Even with that peak traffic being looked at, the traffic study doesn't warrant a signal light. It shows that the intersections at Willow Bend and Countryside both operate adequately, and Countryside would need to be improved, and by that is a stop sign is being proposed right now by the traffic study. We're hopeful the Caltrans will agree with that, but that is what the loads on the peak hour, and that looks at the heaviest point in time. What do we need at those intersections? And Countryside is a stop sign. Yes, you're right. We couldn't have through traffic on Countryside without stopping. That would be not safe. We have to do something at that Countryside and 86 intersection. Right now, stop sign is deemed adequate at peak hour to address the traffic demands that are expected for this area. I do agree with you on the through lanes and the speed on the driveways. 4th Street, for that reason, there's obviously nothing fronting 4th Street as a major arterial. We don't want on major arterials homes fronting the main axis, or similar to Ross as a major arterial here for the city of Centro. So in our futures, our standards have changed since that development that was a few years ago. And now going forward, that's no longer permitted. So that's the difference. Unfortunately, the chance for that subdivision on RAS, different subdivision, not the one on topic today, that one it is what it is, and we'll have to come up with methods to address that. But for this one, you'll see the homes here front Carl and not 4th Street for obvious reasons. And in 4th Street, similar to what exactly is happening at the CHP facility, is being widened, right? In front of the CHP by Dannenberg.
Could you go to that slide, Angel, please? That
sorry.
intersection,
Which slide with
with the intersection?
Okay.
So what you
Isn't
can,
that what you're speaking about, Abram?
no, on the CHP. On the CHP,
Oh,
the
yes,
building that's
further
over
back,
on,
yes.
on just a little bit north of this
Yes,
site on
right.
Dannenberg.
Right.
So what the state allowed there, Caltrans and CHP, another state agency, is we're widening on the west side, right? So you saw K-rail there, construction, and there's still cones out there. The road itself is being widened. That's State Route 86. The southbound lanes are being widened to add another lane going southbound, fronting the CHP. So that's same as what you can imagine being replicated here in this frontage, but it's nicer. So what's being proposed here by the developer is in this area, if you remember on Countryside on the east side, there's actually a meandering sidewalk and landscape on that side. The same is being proposed here on the west side now. So as you're driving through this corridor, you'll have 2 lanes northbound, 2 lanes southbound, your turn lane, and then sidewalks and meandering sidewalks on either side. This is a great improvement, more open space for this area and the control intersection at Countryside at the peak hours. So hopefully that helps address some of the.
Can you go to that intersection slide, Angel, please? Because you said that one of those exits from the division, the subdivision that you're proposing, you can't go out and turn left towards El Centro.
Yes, that would be here. So it's a little counterintuitive because on Willow Bend is the one north, right? And that's usually the one that you want to turn north if you're going to the city.
So, you know, if you're going to work and you happen to work, you know, on going, I mean, because not too many people are going to head for Heber.
No.
They're going to be going north.
Mhm. So
But you can't turn north out of that out of that intersection, right?
And yes, and unfortunately, as much as that makes sense, Caltrans has restricted us. Caltrans has a requirement that there's only so many intersections per length of a roadway. And one of the requirements from Caltrans in the reviews of the studies was to not change that intersection from its current configuration, and that's why it's staying the way it is. We did try to open it, and it got rejected by Caltrans.
For Caltrans, can you explain that a little more? Like, why would they not? Was it because of traffic?
Proximity to intersections. So they have a requirement that you can't, in certain portions of Caltrans right away, you can only have a full intersection and remember if it's every half mile or 2 miles or what it is. But this was too close to Countryside or vice versa as a full access.
So for someone to be able to turn left across the traffic and head north?
Yeah, there'd be too many people turning left
Oh my goodness.
because of the speed of the road.
Wow.
So our hands are tied on that one, unfortunately.
So they're gonna have it where everybody could just go right.
Yes,
Can't
so they can come back
Go to
home
Heber. How
very
are you
easily.
going to get to? No, people are going to be turning out of there and going north, not south.
Well, the roadway is improved with a concrete barrier through a median. So
Yeah.
it's physically not possible to make that turn.
Can I ask a follow-up question to Mr. Elliot's point? Is this being proposed as a temporary fix or as a temporary situation? And the vision is that at some point in the future, residents who are exiting from the street will be able to make a left and go into El Centro, or will this will be as proposed?
As approved by this project, this is permanent. That doesn't stop us at a later date. Once Caltrans relinquishes this to us and we have our own guidelines set to reconsider at that time. But right now, as the approval would be a permanent approval at this point. But you're right, if conditions change at a later date, we can always revisit this if there's an issue.
So going right, what's the closest that a U-turn can be made where you can come back into El Centro?
Countryside, no?
Countryside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're going north,
That would
could you
be-
repeat that
That
question
would be a
here?
mess.
I'm sorry.
If you would, because you said you will not be able to go left. So if we
No.
go right, then to
Oh,
make a U-turn in
Countryside.
order to come back into El Centro,
Would be Countryside.
it'd be Countryside.
You should probably go down to McCabe and then go over to Clark
Uh-huh.
or something, or somewhere else, or
Depending on
Dogwood.
Traffic, yeah.
You should, yeah, that's to turn around, that would be a mess. So
And it-
people would have to go down to McCabe and either go over to 4th Street, Clark, or over to, I would think, Dogwood.
It's not unusual. I mean,
Yeah,
they can
It's
go and
common. Uh-huh.
once you live there, you get used to the traffic
Mhm.
patterns. And at my own place where I live is one location I can make a left, but I choose not to because of traffic
So,
and I go to a stop sign.
What was your hopeful, what was your dream about Caltrans and, you know, us becoming, getting in control of that intersection? Tell us that again.
So we are under process with Caltrans, where Caltrans will relinquish at some point the road to the city, and the city will become the owners of State Route 86. Once it's out of Caltrans jurisdiction, it'll become our
And how would that
jurisdiction.
happen? How would that, what's the projection? How would that happen?
It's a ongoing process. I keep saying 18 to 24 months every time I stand here, unfortunately, because that's the earliest it can happen. We are in the process with Caltrans in that negotiation, and there's pros and cons, and I'd be happy to discuss that at a later meeting. But it will happen. It will be relinquished to the city at some point because of legislation that was already approved.
And there's no, so, going west is still farmland. There's no way to put some access over to Clark.
Yeah, so there's actually, that's already planned into this. I'm trying to, I don't know. There we go. Thank you. So the plan is in our mobility element, which is our master plan for traffic, is that this here, sorry, Countryside is the one that's east-west right now. The developer to the west would extend from where this development is proposing and terminating, they would extend and connect to Valley View. And that would become a east-west basically corridor through the city going between and the development on
Right.
on the road to here, the stop sign, go through this development, the next one, probably another stop sign or something on Park
Yeah.
Road and keep going.
Yeah. But then they could go turn right and go to El Centro and go to work.
Yes, that
But what's your
that's-
projections about that, the developing, going, the road going west?
So it depends on development and the market. There
Oh.
is a plan from the, and you can,
Yes, we received a tentative subdivision map and also a planning development to develop that site. I think we have let's see.
Yes.
It's
this one,
it's
yes.
an area outlined in yellow, and the preliminary plans do have Countryside connecting from Willow Bend to 8th Street.
Are there any,
And-
where are the plans like at in this yellow area that there's a developer there that is making plans?
Yes, they applied, they paid money to for the application process. The project is being reviewed right now. There's always during this process, always corrections going back and forth. The applicant is also determining whether to move forward with what type of, either to hire their own environmental consultant or go with one of the cities. So it's still, I'll say
How
like,
far out?
I
is that
apologize
plan?
if you allow me to interrupt just
Yes,
very
yes,
quickly.
yes.
I want to make sure that I look over to my left and give an opportunity for my colleagues to,
Sorry.
should they have any questions? No, you're within your right, obviously, right? I just want to make sure that we look over and ask if any colleagues, any other questions? Yes, please.
Yes, I do have
Thank you,
just a
Mayor.
couple of questions. No, thank you, Mayor. I do have a couple of questions. I did have the question about the Caltrans, when that would be given to the city based on what I was hearing. So hopefully 18 to 24 months. If it's decided at that time that there should be a signal light, the city carries that fee to install?
I would say we cross that bridge when we get there. There's if right, we will know before his development starts whether a signal light will be required by Caltrans.
Okay.
That's part of the condition pending on that. If it's required, we probably would need to have a conversation and if there's any assistance the city can provide towards that, or if it's a pass through to the development. We'll get there when we have more information from Caltrans. Our goal and intent is to not have that as explained. It doesn't need one right now. But if Caltrans forces that onto this development, we probably should continue that conversation at that point.
Okay, because with the, if I'm not mistaken, the yellow highlighted area would be an additional 118 homes that are projected at this time, more or
Yes, and I
less?
think just because on the staging it's at, that's probably at least in the best
Just
case
a-
scenario.
about 12 months from now. Yes.
How
and-
many-
and-
how-
12 months
12
from now
months.
before you can go to, before this body for approval, because it still needs to be annexed. Conditions of approval need to be done. We haven't begun the environmental process yet because the applicant is still considering what the direction they want to do with that. That Gailey subdivision would also have two accesses off of 8th Street. So it's not all the traffic will not be going through
Yes.
through 4th Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, the majority of traffic will be. I was looking at the traffic study now. It was proposes like 15% of the traffic generated at the Willow Bend will be going south. You know, City of Coletsko, Heber, other areas south.
Do you think that 50% of the?
15.
Thank
Oh,
you.
5.
I apologize again, sir. She's got the floor.
Sorry.
Apologize.
And I
Thank you,
just,
Mr. Mayor.
just one more question and then just an observation. The traffic study that you spoke of and that said it wasn't warranted, how many cars did they count or were considered during the peak hours at that time?
I apologize, I don't have the exact information. We can look it up and get back to you. But it's a standard, industry standard, MUTCD and traffic, the
Yeah.
traffic engineer calculates the number.
Okay.
And it's based on industry standard.
Okay, yeah, and you know, I share the concern, Mr. Aladistain, because I look at the 8th Street and Aurora four-way stop sign, and we see the cars from the subdivisions coming, you know, into town, and at times that stop has cars up the overpass.
Mhm.
And the same way coming back at 5, and it's just difficult for me just to imagine if we have you know, 500 in the countryside area, 120. And I know not everyone's going to come out whenever that other subdivision comes out, but that's about 700 houses, cars, you know, divide
Mhm.
3, that's, you know, 2,100.
Mhm.
And so my concern is seeing that backup that we see right now on 8th and Aurora going all the way up. So I think that's why we're asking these questions, because I know people can get used to it, but if we can make their lives a little bit easier and take into consideration, you know, that having a signal light for safety and sanity purposes, because the stop sign situation, if you haven't seen it off, you know, Aurora and 8th Street, it gets pretty bad. So I think that's my concern with this being a four-way stop, especially because, you know, we had this study done 2007.
Mhm.
There was another one done when? This
Just ongoing right now.
ongoing?
Well, it was done in 2022. So
Okay.
it kind of shows like kind of the back and forth we've
Yeah.
gone with Caltrans.
Uh-huh.
Get to have them
Yeah.
accept the studies and
And,
back and
and I
forth.
know that they were saying that there's no building, you know, and so forth right now, nothing like to the south and so forth, but we do have the project that we just broke ground on that we're anticipating a lot of growth in that area. So I'm just wondering how people begin to start trying to move around and so forth. Just wanted to bring that up because there is a projection of growth that's, you know, east, southeast, you know, and I think it should be taken into consideration as well.
Please.
Maybe it's a question for legal on, it looks like there's a question on this particular condition on whether it's a stop sign or a signal light. So I would be asking for direction on what's the intent.
Mr.
the
Campos,
request.
just a comment. Didn't you share with me that there is a stoplight planned in the future at the intersection of 8th and Aurora?
Yes, we're looking
Yes.
at that. We're
Okay.
getting a quote right now from, to a signal warrant study. It's, signals, require MUTC warrant. We cannot install one if it doesn't meet a warrant study. There's not just a need based on some criteria. We'll be doing one for 8th and, Aurora. Depending on that, we'll come up with an action plan for that. So that's, an ongoing, good point, but it is being looked at right now.
That's great to hear.
So in this one, it didn't warrant the signal. That doesn't mean that Caltrans cannot ask for it for other reasons, right? But we're working together with Caltrans to finalize that. Right now, as the condition stands, it depends on the Caltrans study. So that's how, if you would like to modify or request a modification to that condition for approval, maybe it's a question for legal. How do we do that?
What was the question on it again? On which part?
The current condition, as it reads, so we can do verbatim. It approves a project contingent on the final decision from Caltrans on how that condition will read. So it doesn't say a stop sign or a signal at this point. It just says based on what Caltrans agrees to. And it's condition 12.
So if you go to page 179 of your, sorry about that. Page 179 staff report, there's the table. There's a table of the original conditions and the proposed language. So the proposed language for condition number 12 is prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy and contingent upon approval by Caltrans, the applicant shall complete improvements to the intersection of Highway 86 and Countryside Drive to provide full directional access to the development. Final intersection improvements shall be designed and constructed in accordance with the results of the Caltrans transportation study and shall be completed no later than the issuance of the 60th certificate of occupancy, or as determined by the approved Caltrans study. So that's the type of flexibility. So at the minimum, it would be up to what Caltrans requires, and they would still need to get some type of encroachment permit through Caltrans to access the property before anyone moves in or before we even start approving any permits or anything like that.
No questions, I just want to thank them for their hard work. I've been reading through the paperwork at home and looking at all the details that you have put into this, and just want to thank you. But that is a concern about the four-way stop and the traffic. But other than that, I just really want to thank you because I see all the hard work that you have put into this.
Do you have any follow-up questions? I think everyone's already.
Yes, please. I mean, I hate to keep you guys up all night for, simple decision, but I'm looking for some light at the end of the tunnel. This yellow area that's going to be someday developed would, a street coming across there going west, is that going to encumber them in some way? Is that going to, cause problems for that division, that subdivision as well? That's my question next. I'm looking for some light, to open up the traffic someday,
Sure.
somehow.
Well, for that development, it'd be a benefit to have a third access to leave the neighborhood, because right now they're proposing two intersections off of 8th Street. The Countryside extension would be that third access to provide people options and disperse the traffic.
There's another map that you have that shows the road on the southern part of yes,
Is
that one right there.
Yes.
So that, one of those streets goes through the current, proposed development and then over to
To the left.
Clark.
Yes, that's the Countryside Drive.
Yeah, so that yellow subdivision part is probably somewhere in
It's-
that, right?
Yeah, it's roughly this area right here between 8th
Uh-huh,
Street
uh-huh.
and the project site, right there.
Well, I'm just asking this in the future, is this going to be, because this is important, I think, question, because if you can come west from this proposed subdivision and get over to Clark Road, then, people can turn right, go straight to El Centro, and of course, they're going to end up at Aurora and Fourth, then, the four-way stop, but I mean, at least they can get into town.
Correct, and with that, there will be a whole new traffic study that will be done, and that might be one of it's going to look into that as an impacted intersection, so there might be even more improvements that would be required for that one.
Is there any way to include that caveat in tonight's proposal? Abram?
It's essentially included in the
It's-
condition that they read, because it leaves it up to Caltrans in the future.
So,
And Caltrans has certain warrants,
Yes.
as the city engineer can explain.
yeah, so they are, if you want to jump
Yeah,
into
but
that.
that's simply on 86. Over here, they have that's not their jurisdiction,
So.
on Clark.
Yeah, so as part of the map set before you, they would have to basically extend Countryside up to the property line of the neighboring proposed development. They would, and from there, it would connect to 8th Street. So that's conditioned on this project to start basically their half of Countryside.
Well, you see what I'm asking for is there some way to
Oh,
include?
well, okay, so maybe, so the map that's right here, the roadway plan, that's not a general plan. So all development needs to be consistent with that. If the applicant when the applicant comes in and we start reviewing the project site, call it Gately subdivision, they would need to comply with this map to have some type of east-west access from 4th Street to 8th Street.
Okay,
That's one of the requirements.
that would have to be a high priority for the next, developer, west of there.
Yes, that's one of the city's main roadway
Yes,
roads in
yes,
that area,
yes.
and they would have
Okay.
to build it. Correct.
Okay.
All righty. Well, I have a couple of questions myself. Not my fault. No, so I did want to echo the sense that I understand that the transportation aspect of it, I mean, just to kind of bring us back to the different layers that are before us, item number 4, 5, 6, and 7 all address something in particular. Item number 4, which we are on right now, has to do with the EIR. Then we'll talk about the revised and updated conditions, the zoning map, and then the actual annexation. So for purposes of the EIR, my colleagues have been raising a lot of questions as it relates to a 4-way stop, a light, and I think that a lot of that has to do with not just the volume of vehicles because of the new housing. Mr. Elliott raised an important point that has been echoed in this body for several years, and that is that for every house, you have not just one vehicle, but you'll have 2 or 3. We had this same conversation as it relates to dense housing that would have added 100 apartments, right? And we said that's not just 100 cars, that's going to be 200 cars because you'll have 2, right? And the idea that that will have zero or negligent or negative impact to the environment just didn't seem to match up with common sense, right? But for this purpose, it's not just the volume, but the emissions, right? I will stick to the point first and foremost of the volume. So let's assume that it will be a little difficult to come in and out, right? And this being ease of a resident to come in and out. Questions I think that my colleagues were also raising, that public safety's ability to
Yes.
come into the subdivision and
Right.
out,
Right.
and what that response time looks like, right? So what we're looking for, I think, is just assurance that this map, that the layout of these intersections does not delay our public safety from addressing any emergency, and also reflects this body's intent to ensure that we were mindful of the residents' ease of coming in and out. And so could you speak to that, please?
No, definitely. So we take very seriously every time we review a map. That's why we have plans and master plans to look at access. Our master plans for circulation take a look at various elements, including access, safety, just connectivity. Our standards have been built to allow pedestrians and traffic. There's a bus stop, for example, for this area. So a lot of the kids here will not walk. Mostly they'll be going to a bus stop or be driven, right? But there's a bus stop for the kids, will reduce some of the traffic. When we do a master plan, and this is what's showing on the bottom screen, so maybe that's just a clarification. That bottom picture is the master plan. There we look at a grid pattern. Grid pattern in the traffic industry is one of the best to get in and out to different areas. And as development happens, we have to build in pieces. We can't day one flip the light right and connect the dots this time between 4th and 8th, but we plan for it. So in this case, we are looking at that connection on Countryside to be able to disperse the traffic, not only to have access to 4th Street, but you can foresee in the future that we're planning that this development will also have access to 8th Street. That will happen. It's just a matter of time. Hopefully, the project to the west happens fast, and a year from now we're here approving plans, and in 2 years they start 18 months to 24 months they start construction, and this materializes. But we're taking the steps and the investments to make that happen. For example, on Countryside at the division here, that's where we're partnering at the city and offering $325,000 as for to help that regional roadway. The IID, he's going to have to build a road. The developer has to build a roadway over an IID easement that at this moment does not serve at all this parcel. He has access through 4th Street, but we're planning ahead. So we don't want to make it an impediment to the project to the west, where they would have to pipeline and do that roadway connection. That'll be already pre-built and set in a partnership between the developer and the city to make that connection much easier and accessible to the project to the west, and ensuring that we have additional disbursement of the traffic throughout both corridors here on 4th Street and Clark Road. So yes, we are planning ahead for traffic. And at this point, what I'm saying is this development in itself does not meet the signal warrant to do that. Caltros might find other reasons to request it, right? But what that doesn't say that the project to the west, when we study that project on itself for its own merits, now that other project will have to consider this project. Will a signal light be then needed at that point? Right? So we don't know that right now because we're working on hypotheticals on whether the project to the west will or will not happen, when it will happen, and so forth. Right now, we have to look at the data that we have today. And yes, it's 100 homes, and it seems like a lot, but we've been through many other developments, much larger, including the one immediately to the east. Traffic doesn't materialize as much as we thought. There's remote work. We expect more remote work. Traffic studies, even the ones that we have, the traffic counts usually tend to overestimate the traffic. And that's one of the reasons many of the conditions here are being removed, because the traffic studies overestimated traffic, and now we're here. It's not a fair comparison to compare to ACE and Aurora, because that is 50, 100 years worth of development, right? To get us to this point. It's functioned as a stop sign till now, right? So now we need to address it because things have grown, traffic has increased over 100 years. So at this point, the stop sign is sufficient, but we're always looking. If there's a point where we get the history and the data to support it, definitely the city would probably be jumping in and doing it. There might be a case that if we want to do a stop sign, a signal light at this right now ahead of time, maybe the city should step in and help, because it's not a developer need, it's for future needs. So, but it's definitely a safety issue that we need to address, and we'll have more information as soon as this traffic study is updated. So maybe what I can suggest is that once this traffic study from Caltrans is complete, we come back and do a presentation on and ask for direction on what we would like to do, and if there's any other recommendations from staff at that point.
Okay, thank you for that answer. I have a question as it relates to that four-way stop and to a light. We heard from Mr. Coyne that said that if he built, or if they went ahead and built for the infrastructure of a four-way light for a traffic stop, that it would add cost to the final product, right? So that would be passed on to the purchasers of the properties, right? If this body were to move forward in recommending and accepting a four-way stop, and then at some point in the future decide that it's ripe for a traffic light, would this subdivision, or are we expecting to adopt a lighting and landscape district for the subdivision for purposes of installing those four-way stops or four-way traffic lights?
There is a lighting and landscape district proposed for the project, but it would not cover traffic. Lighting and landscape districts are mainly for just illumination and landscaping. It wouldn't be a traffic.
So we would not have an ability to expand the scope of that landscape or lighting district to include stuff like this?
No.
Okay. So if we wanted to, if a future council wanted to deviate from a four-way stop to a light, then we would have to look for a state grant or internal funding for that. Okay.
Yeah, one thing I would do want to add is the design, the road layout, the lane configuration for that four-way stop sign, it would facilitate the installation of the actual traffic signals, the steel poles and things like that. So it's already
The bones are there.
Sorry?
The bones will be there.
Yes,
Okay.
the lane, yes.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable and confident that in all of the planning principles of traffic calming and whatnot, that a four-way stop, at least for the first several years, will sustain the traffic output and the volume for that subdivision? And should it rise to a point where it's not sustainable or we're getting complaints, then you would immediately bring it back to council and then figure out a way of how we move into another phase.
For the moment, for this project, the study is saying a four-way stop. And if it comes to a point where a signal light would be warranted, we'll definitely be looking at that and coming back to the body.
Any other questions, council?
Just a comment, I feel a lot better that there's something going on the west side and that there's something in the oven now. And some years down the road, there'll be some connectivity to Clark Road. That's reassuring at least. Appreciate that.
Perfect. So in the interest of time, I'm going to ask that we move forward. The last thing I will say is that considering this is the EIR portion of it, the addendum did highlight, I just want to say for the record, that out of all of the elements that it studies, right? And let me go ahead and say, so agriculture, forestry, air quality, biological resources, cultural and tribal cultural resources, geology and soils, noise, public services and utilities, transportation and traffic, to the point of the developers, that there's a lot that goes behind the studies in making sure that this is ready. If I read it correctly, most all of those elements, it was negligible, it was temporary. So for example, noise exists during construction that wouldn't exist once it's constructed. Emissions, right? Any diesel equipment that's used during construction would be there during construction, not afterwards. But there was one that stood out to me that was air quality. And it says, the final EIR, environmental impact report, determined that the proposed project was not consistent with the Imperial County Air Quality Attainment Plan and the state implementation plan for PM10, particulate matter 10, in the Imperial Valley due to the proposed project resulting in a higher density and generating more vehicle trips. Therefore, impacts would be considered significant and unavoidable. And I would imagine that a lot of that has to do with the fact that right now there are 0 cars there, and then there's now going to be 100, if not 200 cars that would exist. And I'm assuming that the EIR mitigates that in some kind of way. And at least in my mind, I would imagine that if we're going to talk about emissions, these new homes are now under California law to have solar panels built on top of them, right? So
Yes.
is it fair to say that somewhere in all of that, there's a balance of maybe emissions built, emissions reduced because of solar power generation?
Correct. It would need to follow the building standards of today, not of 2007. The purpose of the EIR is basically saying, kind of, you mentioned earlier, that there's always going to be an impact, but it's just to be upfront with the decision makers to see, like, yes, there's going to be impact. It's unavoidable, but are we gonna, and kind of we need to gauge the need for housing, affordable housing in the community compared to those impacts.
Perfect. All right. Seeing no other questions or comments from council and or staff, what is the will of the body? Now, keep in mind, colleagues, that these are all different layers of the cake, so to speak, and so each one addresses something different as it relates to this subdivision, and so we're going to take each one at a time. So this one being item number 4, resolution 25-07, as it relates to the final EIR for Willow Bend tentative subdivision.
So I move we accept the recommendation.
All right, perfect. So we have a motion by Mr. Ellett to approve item number 4. Is there a
I will
second?
second.
We have a second by Marroquin. Madam Clerk, please open the vote.
Got that. Clerk, we've got that little window on the,
Just put no on that little window.
All right, item number 4 passes 5-0. Next, we move on to item number 5. I imagine the presentation is the same.
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing to consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission amending Resolution 07-17, revising and updating conditions for the Willow Bend subdivision. Is there any member of the public that wish to speak? Public hearing is now open. Seeing none physically present, is there anybody participating remotely? Okay, thank you so much. So now we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council, and ask council if there are any questions for staff as it relates to amending the Resolution 07-17, revising and updating conditions. See no questions from council or staff. Is there a will of the body related to item number 5?
I move that we accept the resolution.
Great, thank you. We have a motion to approve by Mr. Elitt.
second.
We have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Carter. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. That item passes 5-0. So ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to say all of those questions were not for naught. It allows us to very expeditiously go through all of these items. So thank you for your patience. Item number 6 is related to the zoning map of the city of El Centro pertaining to annexation EC 1-24. This is a public hearing. I'm looking at staff. The presentation that was given for item number 4 can be considered for item number 6. Is that correct? Perfect. Thank you. So now we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing for consideration of the amending of the zone map of the city of El Centro pertaining to annexation EC 1-24 Willow Bend subdivision. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak to council on item number 6? Going once, going twice, seeing none physically present. Any participation remotely? I'm being told by staff there are none participating remotely, no indications. So we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council. Any questions, council, staff, to staff as it relates to item number 6? If not, what is the will of the body?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Marroquin, second by
Second.
Camarena. Madam Clerk, please open the vote. I feel like I should work at an auction. I mean, I just kind of felt like that for 2 seconds. All right. So item number 6 passes 5-0. Thank you, colleagues, one last time. This item number 7 is public hearing to consider a resolution approving annexation EC 1-24. We're going to go ahead and open the public hearing because staff has indicated that the presentation given on item number 4 also applies to item number 7. So we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak on item number 7? Seeing none physically present. Madam City Clerk, anybody participating remotely? Seeing none. Okay, going once, going twice. We're going to go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council. Council, are there any questions to staff as it relates to approving the annexation EC 1-24 Willow Bend subdivision annexation? I see none. So colleagues, what is the will of the body for item number 7?
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Marroquin, second by Mayor Pro Tem Carter. Madam Clerk, if you could please open the roll. That item also passes 5-0. Colleagues, thank you so much for supporting the public hearing process. To the developers and to all of the staff, Godspeed, and do what you got to do at this point and make our residents proud. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Angel.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Abraham.
All righty. So colleagues, we are almost at the finish line. I ask you to please hang in there. We're almost there. So item number 8, this is now new business as we transition. Item number 8 is discussion and any necessary action regarding the Imperial Avenue Complete Streets Plan, presentation by Angel Hernandez. And I believe we also have consultants in the room as well.
Still here, still standing. The project before you is the periodic complete streets plan. If you remember, I think is in November. In November, there was a presentation to the city council at that time to give them an update about the progress made and also present which I think is really like the meat and potatoes of the plan, the preliminary design plan for Emperor Avenue between Adams Avenue and the northern city limits. But I'll go ahead and let Jacob from K2A Consulting to move forward with the presentation. Thank you.
Here we go. It's great to be back. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and it's great to see familiar faces and congratulations. Good to meet you all new council members. My name is Jacob Leon. I've had the pleasure and the gratitude to be working on this project with you all for the past year and a half. And it's really exciting for me to be here with you all to present the final draft and hopefully have a good discussion and adopt this plan, as Angel said, to improve Imperial Avenue from Adams Avenue through the northern city boundaries. So I'm going to spend about 12-15 minutes giving you all an overview. Again, so people at home or here listening kind of get a little bit of that background. And towards the end, I'm here to answer questions. Angel's here with me. Jessica here is also from Catherine Padilla and Associates. Thank you so much for the moral support. Integral member of this planning team. And Abraham, if he's still here, he can maybe also jump in if he wants. But it was a team effort nonetheless. So I'll talk about community engagement that we completed. I'll talk about the preferred concept and just a little bit about the planning document that was presented in your package, and then Q&A. So I really want to begin by thanking Caltrans. They're the ones, through their Sustainable Communities Grant Program, provided the funding to the city to allow us to work with you and your staff and the communities and the members of El Centro on this project. Catherine Padilla and Jessica, who's here, PMing from that end, did incredible community engagement throughout this process. And we were also joined by Michael Baker, who are traffic engineers, sub-consultants on the team. Again, a team effort, couldn't have done it without everybody here. So what were the goals of this project? We had 5 that were guiding us throughout the planning process. It was about providing safe modes of transportation for everybody, regardless of access to a vehicle. It was about increasing equity, right, when it comes to transportation along this really important corridor here in the community. It's about providing reliable use of public transit and working together with ICTC and IVT and their network to just make sure that, we're all talking to each other and not working in silos. It was about designing a comfortable and a sustainable street to make sure that we have a good environment for your community members. And lastly, about planning, right? We want to make sure that we are not ignoring previous planning efforts, that we communicate with our neighbors to the north, just so that this important corridor is serving everybody here in the valley, in the community. We wanted to make sure we were looking at all of these different purposes, right? This toolbox that we created for you. It was for pedestrians, for cyclists, for green infrastructure, automobiles, placemaking, creating identity and culture here along the corridor, and of course, transit or new mobility. So here's a little snapshot. Our project, of course, was from Adams Avenue all the way to Threshold. This is a 1.5 mile stretch of corridor that we were all designing and planning together. We had the opportunity to come out here several times over the past year and a half to tour the corridor with their staff, and as we were developing concepts to take a second look at certain elements along the corridor. As you all know very well, right, there's room for improvement on Imperial, missing sidewalks, better public transit infrastructure, addressing the lack of sidewalks or bicycle connectivity, understanding drainage and stormwater issues and opportunities, all those sorts of things. So we wanted to make sure we took all of those elements into account as we were putting together this preferred concept, what we call a 30% drawing for within our own jargon. We could, as we were out there and in speaking with the community, these bullet points, these are the observations. And this was what also guided our efforts when we were developing concepts. It's about the speeding cars, it's about drivers' behaviors with the way the street is right now, the lack of infrastructure, the crossings, and of course, as we always hear, limited shading throughout the corridor and then seating at public transit stops. So we took these observations and we wanted to flip it around and solve these issues to the greatest extent possible through the concept itself. Well, our team here at K2A, as urban planners and landscape architects, we can come up with pretty pictures and big ideas, but we have to vet this with the community. So through the help of Jessica and her team at Catherine Padilla and Angel and Andrea at the city, we were able to do a really comprehensive community engagement. As you can see with this bullet list right here, we came out to the community because we wanted to be transparent. We wanted to hear from them, their concerns, their big ideas, so that this was, as we like to say in our planning world, a community-driven process that then your staff between the planning department and public works in the future, as funding becomes available, they can really start implementing these recommendations. So we did surveys, we did workshops, we did pop-up workshops. I want to give a special shout out to Sister Evelyn Moore Center. They were very gracious enough to host us 3-4 times at their facility to do and to get in touch and speak with their community members who live right near the Imperial Avenue. So thank you so much if you're listening. We appreciate your generous opportunities for us to be there. And we send out postcards. We invited people to a final workshop, and towards the fall, November 14th, we had a study session with you all and Planning Commission where we had some really good back and forth dialogue. Needless to say, all of that gave us the information that we needed, working with our team to develop this plan that sits before you all. And I have tons of pictures, but these are just a sample of the pictures that we have. Again, the conversations that we had with your community members through the past year and a half. So again, a big shout out, anyone listening who participated. Thank you so much for making time out of your day to come talk to us at any of these workshops or pop-ups that we did. So the reason I want to spend a couple of minutes here talking about what we did in the summer, this was a really important time in the planning process because this is when we were vetting the first initial ideas for Imperial Avenue. So in the summer, we wanted to break it up into digestible pieces, and it made sense because there's 3 distinct segments on Imperial Avenue. We decided to break them into 3. Segment A, Adams to Scott, B is Scott to Lincoln, and segment C is from Lincoln down to Tresham. And what we did is we put together drawings with call outs and 3D sections to really communicate to the public, hey, these are potential solutions to those observations and those issues that you've mentioned to us that we've taken into consideration. So for example, on segment A, right between Adams and Scott, we were looking at improving public transit. We looked at adding bikeways that currently don't exist. We were looking at urban greening opportunities, even calling out placemaking like wayfinding signage, all within the right of way. And if I need to mention really quickly as well, we were also taking into account the circulation element update that you all worked on just a few years ago that called for adding that 3rd travel lane along Imperial Avenue because of it's such an important big corridor. And so back then we wanted to respect that. And these designs took into account that 3rd travel lane. Thankfully, I was praying that things would still fit. And there's so much room on Imperial Avenue that even with these ideas, such as that you see here on segment A or in segment B, it all fit even with that 3rd travel lane. And this was again in conversations with your staff here and our traffic engineers. And here's an example from segment B, Scott to Villa here. In the summer of 2024, we talked about the bikeway improvements, urban greening on both sides of Imperial Avenue. You all have some really important destinations on either side of Imperial. So these walking and biking and transit improvements that are presented in this plan is about that. It's how do we get people to these destinations because not everybody has access to a car, whilst not neglecting the automobile, right? Because it's such a still important regional corridor. Again, going back to that equitable modes of transportation. Segment C, north of Bradshaw to the northern quarter is very straight, very wide. So it was very easy for us to explore adding those bike ped recommendations on both sides, while also taking into account not needing to touch those the drainage canals on the other side, because that's very important infrastructure and touching them, requires a lot more engineering and expenses for that. Lastly, at that workshop, we also wanted to vet an idea. We heard over and over from the community that we need more safe east-west crossings because the traffic signals that are currently out there are spaced out where it becomes an inconvenience to community members. And if you zoom out and if you think about what's adjacent to this area, we have residential areas on either side from, La Boucherie, 12th. So more east-west crossings was a subject we wanted to explore with your community. And so we went ahead and we presented these 3 ideas just to see what the appetite for that was and to see if there was a need. So Villa, Lincoln, and El Dorado were the 3 intersections that we asked feedback for. They all received general support for them. There were more concerns for El Dorado just because of how close it could be, to the current Bradshaw intersection. But nonetheless, this was a very positive thing that, and the feedback that we got from your community, again, because of those destinations, having the ability for somebody to press a light, stop traffic, and get to those destinations on either side of Imperial Avenue. We wanted to make sure that we reached out to the broader community because not everybody can come to an evening workshop. So we did a survey right after that summer workshop where we asked the community at large, do these segments, do they work for you, right? How do you feel about them? Do you feel like it'll increase safety and comfort? And we presented these 3 segments, and you can see, I'll zoom in real quick. The green shows, yes, it would increase safety. So again, it was that gut check, right? That we are on the right track, that this concept that we have is solving some of these issues that we observed and that we heard from the community. So I was really happy on behalf of the team that the survey in the community is reflecting and supporting all the designs that we were presenting to you all. I'm not going to read every bullet point, but we summarize in the report that is attached to the packet all of the different categories from biking, walking comfort, the green spaces, beautification, operations. There are key takeaways and support for all of these elements that, again, if we can dive into it a little bit more during the Q&A. But for the purposes of transparency, we just wanted to include some in this presentation here. Now, we took all of that feedback from the summer, and we had 2 final outreach opportunities where we did 1 final workshop at the library and another pop-up event to vet the preferred concept design. And we kept it consistent. We wanted to communicate the 3 different segments and also, but connect everything together. So for those of you, thank you for being at that final workshop. You all had an opportunity to see, we printed a 12-foot long print of the entire corridor. So you can walk literally from one end to another and see the proposed improvements and had an opportunity to comment on them as well. But quick highlights, right? The concept that was presented in the fall and with minor tweaks presented in the final plan before you includes those class 1 multi-use pathways that are for both bicyclists and pedestrians. It includes separated bikeways in that first segment, Adams to Scott. We have bike enhancements like green conflict striping, high visibility crosswalks, pedestrian scale lighting, all pointed out, improvements to transit, et cetera, et cetera. All of these elements are in that plan for your staff to use and to consider, in the near future as funding becomes available. Here are some screenshots of the preferred plan, all catted up, a little bit more engineering, but those are in the report for you to take a look at. But we wanted to include them in this presentation for record purposes. But it was really rewarding and comforting to just see how everything connected really nicely from Adams all the way to Threshold. Of course, there's going to be coordination that needs to happen with City of Imperial to the north of you, because nothing's worse than seeing an improvement stop at the city boundary. Everybody hates that. We don't want that to happen. So I always encourage you, to be in communication, so that hopefully all of Imperial Avenue all the way to Imperial is one nice cohesive corridor. They're working on their part too, so it'll all come together hopefully in the near future. But these drawings, they're in the plan. They represent all the bike ped improvements, the urban greening opportunities, the flow of traffic. We have callouts, with those crossings, special notes. Again, these are we call these 30% drawings, right, for a complete streets plan. This is to equip your staff for future grant opportunities it's that bridging document, right? To, in the future, hire an engineer, civil engineer that can take these concepts that have been vetted and accepted from your community and move forward in the future. So all of these are in your plan for you. And so I'd like to point out that from that fall workshop through that study session that we held with council and planning commission, we made some minor tweaks, such as providing additional crossings over the drainage canals into those properties that are adjacent. You have a lot of great businesses immediately adjacent to Imperial, and we have some long stretches between Bradshaw and over, to Cruikshank and then Cruikshank to the northern boundary. So we added some of that in the final plan, and we've also wanted to take into account Ford Drive and the past comments about that and just providing access onto Imperial at Ford Drive. So those were some of the edits that we made to the plan since the fall workshop into what is presented to you all today. So I just wanted to point that out to you here as well. And those are present here in this final slide where Ford Drive is pictured here. So the plan that we put together is not very long, but it does capture all of the hard work that your community, that you all and our team did for this process, for this planning process. So it has chapters that highlight existing conditions. We have a community engagement with lots of pictures and key takeaways and summaries from all the engagement. We have the recommendations, of course, that we just mentioned in chapter 4. And then we also provided some guidance in the implementation chapter. Things to consider for phasing. We also provided potential funding sources. So we have a table that we keep up to date And we always include it for our clients, for you all to, here's the latest and greatest as of when this was done from federal, state, and regional opportunities. So that's, again, equipping your staff and you all with resources to continue progress for this corridor. And Michael Baker, our subconsultant team, also worked on a safety assessment memo where they analyzed the whole corridor. They analyzed the intersections, the segments, to do the level of service analysis and to give you all a snapshot as to what could happen in the future when all of this is built. And their analysis and their summaries are all included in the safety memo as the appendix item in the report itself. And here are just some screenshots of, as you can see, how we break up our funding table from federal and state funding. We break it out into, is this for infrastructure, is it for implementation, or for planning purposes? So it's a nice little set of tables for you all to use. And I just want to finish off my presentation with letting you all know that on January 14th, we presented to Planning Commission. We had a really good conversation, and it was recommended to move forward to you all today. And so we're requesting for you all to have a conversation. I'm here to talk with you all, and hopefully, there's an adoption of this plan, and it'll be our responsibility to package everything up. Every piece of material that we did will turn over to you and your staff, and we'll be submitting things to Caltrans as well, since they're the grant funding source for this. But I do want to say that I've been doing this for 12 years, and this is, I'm not just saying this to be cheesy, but it has been one of my most rewarding projects because the community actually cares. They really told us that this is an important corridor for them and that this could make a difference in the future. So I do want to thank everybody who helped me and my team put this all together for you all. So thank you very much. That does conclude my presentation, but happy to be here and answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, sir. Colleagues, any questions?
I have a question. I just got on the council, of course, in December, so I just have a question regarding the once you're over the tracks and you're going north, is there a safety barrier between the pedestrians and the bicyclists, or how far, or is there something besides the greenery? Is there something to keep them safe? I'm only saying because of speed.
Yeah. No, that's a good question. So you're referring to just between Scott and Woodward, over passing the tracks in that whole area?
And also, I'll say railroad tracks going to Pico.
Going to Pico, yes. So the design itself does provide, it's a class 1 multi-use path. That design itself includes a buffer of physical separation from moving traffic.
Oh.
So there is separation for people who might be walking, jogging, biking on there. We also included a special call out that in the future, when you have a civil engineer or traffic engineer analyzing this closer, the railroad crossing is going to require additional review, just because, as you can imagine, the complications with all the safety features, the physical barrier, the noise, and the audible sensor. So we had to especially call that out. It wasn't within our scope to do that, but it's all included. It's all referenced there again for the future when you're ready to move that piece forward.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, Councilmember.
I have a question. I see on your maps that apparently you have 7 lanes on Imperial Avenue. Currently, we have 5 lanes. You're going to fit 2 more lanes? in
That
the
is
same-
correct. Mhm.
Really?
Yes, there's lots of space out there. Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
So
I
the
said the
cars are
same
going to
thing,
fit.
yeah.
You're going to be 2 more lanes and we're still going to fit in our lanes.
Yes, so, yes, Angel. So yes, through the circulation element update, it was recommended to add the 3rd travel lane between Bradshaw to Adams. So there's so much right of way on Adams that we were able to design that per the typical 11-foot width travel lanes that we design, with these kinds of projects. In addition, there are some sections where we also maintained a dedicated right turn lane. So for example, between Pico and Bradshaw, if I'm not mistaken, because of those businesses and through previous planning efforts, there was even enough room to also maintain that dedicated right turn lane into those. So it's shocking, right? It's almost like you look at an aerial, you're like, that can't be possible, right? But Councilmember, when we do our offsets and we measure the public right of way, it is shocking to see just how much room there's out there. And right now, your travel lanes are overbuilt in the sense that you have some travel lanes that are 13, 14, 15 wide. They only need to be 11. So there's room there. Yeah, it is a little surprising, but the math does. What did the kids say? It's mathing. Yeah, there's room there.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Good question.
I don't have a question, and I have just a comment. First, thank you. Thank you for all the hard work you have put into this. I've seen it. I attend several of the community pop-ups, and just seeing how engaged the community was, the questions, putting the little comments. They had billboards out where you can write and you can put sticky notes to say where your concerns are, what you would like for to be changed, where your input is. They've really put a lot of work into this. So I just wanted to commend you for everything, you and your staff for everything that you did, and our staff as well. Thank you.
All right, colleagues, seeing no other questions for staff, thank you again for the great presentation. What is the will of the body as it relates to the Imperial Avenue Complete Streets Plan, item number 8?
So being involved in this, and I really commend, Jacob and all of his colleagues, for all the work that they did. And it was really impressive how well engaged you brought the community in, to develop this. So, for that reason, I'd like to move to approve the design, even though we still have to find the funding for it. So, don't we just wish that it would just happen like that, right?
I'll
But-
second, Mayor.
Perfect. We got a motion by Marroquin, second by Carter. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. All right, that item passes 5-0. Congratulations, and thank you again for your hard work.
Thank you.
Congrats. Thank you. Next, we move on to our last item, members. Item number 9, work truck purchase for Parks Division, presentation by our Community Service Director, Adriana Nava.
Hello, Honorable Mayor. I won't be accepting any questions today. Just a yes. Just kidding. Just kidding. You can ask away. So this is essentially what we intend to purchase. It's a part of the budget. It was part of Measure P. The cost does exceed the $50,000 threshold that our city manager is authorized to approve. We did look at options for, what other types of vehicles we could purchase that had the capacity that we need. So the parks team tows, sometimes we pull floats, and so we can't just get, your standard truck. So we did obtain additional bids. We always try locally first, but they don't always have what we need in stock. And so we seek competitive bids. So the work truck is within our allocated funds for this fiscal year, but because of the amount, we bring it before the council. And so this is, again, what would be purchased, has the area for the tools, has all the bells and whistles, honestly, they need. I tell them, man, you guys have more accessories than, us women that we love our earrings, and they need all their accessories too. And then ours always has a lift too, just to ease when lifting things. But that's pretty much it. So the request today, this is the quote that we received from Paradise, and you can see the price there. It's about $65,000, and then when it goes usually to the shop, they add additional bells and whistles to it. The ask today is to approve the resolution before you, which would allow us to purchase the work truck for the Parks Division. And then this truck would be for our lead worker.
Thank you very much. And
I was kidding about the no questions.
I know,
Just kidding.
I was just warming up. I was waiting for you.
Just kidding.
we have no public comment for this item, so colleagues, we are here for council. Any questions, concerns to
The,
staff?
my question is the funding. Where's the funding coming?
This was a Measure P item.
Thank you.
This
Thank
item
you.
was Measure P that was approved when last year's budget was approved. So it's budgeted in the 25 budget. So it's actually coming in less at what was budgeted,
Yes.
if I recall correctly. So that's actually a good thing.
Thank you for remembering that.
Yes. I remember. All right. So any other questions? If not, colleagues, what is the will of the body in terms of item number 9?
I just have one
Yes,
question, just for
please.
my curiosity. The 2012 truck, what happens to that?
Depends on the condition of that truck. Sometimes, last time we donated to Catholic Charities. But usually we'll bring that item back before you if we do donate it. Depends on the condition of its current. We take a look at it. We talk to the shop. Sometimes we hand it down to another employee, just depending on our circumstances.
So right now you don't know the condition of the truck?
I haven't seen the 2012 that we'll be replacing, but I can definitely get back to you on that. I can send you an email on that item.
All right. Colleagues, the will of the body, please, for item number 9.
I will move to approve the purchase.
Okay, we have a motion made by Marroquin,
I'll second.
second by Carter. Madam Clerk, if you could please open the roll. That item passes 5-0. Perfect. Thank you, colleagues. Now we move on to the final portion of the agenda. There are no legislative actions, I believe, before us, and so we move on to informational items. This is now task force reports, council member reports. So I'm going to go ahead and start with, if we don't mind, can we start with you, Mr. Ellis?
Sure.
All right. Please
Sure.
feel free.
Just this morning, we had a swearing in of 3 new employees, so our staff is growing, filling some gaps, and so it's good to see that. One gentleman was here for a long time as a per diem, I guess, a temporary, and is finally, full-time. So anyway, moving on. Just this Saturday, my wife and I attended the Pioneers Day Museum, and it's really great to see. It was a very big, very well attended, filled up the south side of the IBC parking lot to be able to go there. And it's nice to see younger people taking leadership in this Pioneer Day event and trying to move that on. So it's great to see that. Then Claudia Camarena and myself, we just finished 3 days of training in Garden Grove. And probably the 2 most important things bringing back from that would be quoting one of our presenters: "You don't have to be sick to fix it. You can get better without having to be sick." And then the other quote was, "Fixing the problem is far more expedient than fixing the blame." And just another caveat was that we had a lady there that was a new council member from Malibu Beach. And so this lady, their town was devastated by these fires. She stood in the back in many sessions and asking questions and asking questions and asking questions. And so with some very serious concerns, and I'm not sure how much help she actually got. I actually literally ran into her as I was leaving, and we chatted for a moment and gave her some real hope. She was, her main complaint, I don't want to drag this on, but she felt like the Brown Act was cutting her off at the legs because she felt like she couldn't talk to any other council members because she'd violate the Brown Act. And so, here I'm a new councilman giving her advice, and she, the advice is, look, you just do what is right. You can't go wrong doing what is right, because she was letting this cumbersome law stop her from assisting her community. That's just, that's dumb. So then the 27th, we all were at the Southern Pump Station ground ribbon cutting. That was a great presentation, Graham. That was great. And then also, Claudia might comment on this also, but Chief Bernal gave us a tour of Fire Station number 1 that was built in the 40s, mid 40s. That was quite a revelation. So thank you, Chief Bernal. And then lastly, of course, we were pretty much all of us were at the ribbon cutting at the charging station at the library.
Ms. Camarena, would you
Oh,
like to
okay.
follow, please?
Yeah, real quick, I know we've been here a while. Just basically going off of what Marty said, we went to the League of Cities training. And it was very, very informative, gave us a lot of good information. It was very eye-opening to see how some people within certain cities weaponize the Brown Act. And it's not, I mean, a very important part, but never to be used as a tool of weaponization. Also, had the privilege of assisting with the point in time count on January 31st, was out there, I think it was like 5 a.m. and went out there, and it was a very good experience just being able to talk to the other people involved in some of the nonprofits. One of the most important things to me is addressing the homeless, and to people that speak with me about that, and that's something that we're looking at right now. I like to research before I bring things up, and that's the point that I'm at right now. I had my first downtown ad hoc committee meeting via Zoom while I was in Garden Grove. That was really interesting. We have some information coming back on some changes that we're hoping to make. And let's see, I think what Marty said, what she said as far as the saying, it was, you don't have to be sick to get better. And that's something that, to me, it's like you never arrive. You can always learn, and we can always learn from each other and sharpen our tools to get the best results out as individuals, as employees, and for our residents. And so just want to thank you for that.
Excellent, thank you. Ms. Maruki.
So I know that my colleagues have mentioned some of the same events that we were at. You know, Abraham, it was, you know, what a proud moment to break ground on the Southern Pump Station. That is something that's been in the works for quite a few years. So, you know, it's just a good idea to have to really commemorate that. And so, you know, it was, I was proud to be out there with you. So thank you. During the mayor's travel out of town and the Mayor Pro Tem's travel out of town, I stepped in and I attended the leadership luncheon out at NAF. Commander Lee is going to be leaving, and he's going to be replaced, and I can't remember the new gentleman's name, but they're going to have a ceremony next week to commemorate the switchover. And so, you know, always great to attend with other city leaders, you know, to talk about how we can collaborate with NAF and, you know, the communities that surround it. So very worthwhile event to attend. And then that same afternoon, also stepped in for a ribbon cutting ceremony for a new business here in El Centro. It's a, oh my gosh, yoga? Is it Pilates or Pilates studio? Out on the west end of town. And so to a young lady that, I mean, my gosh, she looks like she's barely 18, you know, it's just like, and she opened up that business. You know, I have to mention the Fiesta del Valle. I'm sorry I was not able to attend this inaugural event, but my family did attend. And so they said that there were quite a few people out there, and that a great selection of food. And I think that the community is really hungry for, you know, events like that. So no pun intended. And of course, you know, we had our ECRMC board meeting and finance committee meeting. So, you know, we continue to work on the negotiations for the acquisition of ECRMC. And so on that note, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Appreciate it, Mayor Pro Tem. Your report.
I attended 3 meetings as well. ICTC meeting with the mayor, the hospital board meeting with all of my colleagues, and then we had the downtown meeting, Claudia and I, and very informative meetings. I also had the opportunity of meeting with CR&R, listening to their pitch about different things that they want to bring to the council. And then I did attend the Fiesta Fest, the food trucks. Oh, that was awesome. There was a lot of people out there. A lot of the community loved that, the socializing, just being out there. A lot of food trucks, different vendors out there. It was very nice event. And keeping it short, that concludes mine.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and go a little out of order and just ask the city manager to give his report before I wrap up.
Basically attending the same events as noted already. Department heads continue to, I'll use the word grind because they're always working so hard. So thank you all for your efforts. And just to let you know that I will be gone for the next 3 days attending the city managers meeting. Be back on Monday.
Where is it?
It's in, yeah, Rancho Mirage.
Perfect, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so colleagues, I hope you forgive me. I'm going to go ahead and defer my report, and I'll just sum it up next week so I can get through the mayor's mentioned that staff provided. So this is a reminder that we are hosting a free ADA compliance roundtable on Wednesday, February 5th, tomorrow, from 10 a.m. to noon here in council chambers. The roundtable is led by accessibility specialist Sandra Miles. I'd like to also invite everyone to the Mardi Gras Parade and Street Fair that will happen on February 22nd from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. The Mardi Gras Parade will feature King Edward Singh and Queen Martha Cardenas Singh. It would also end with a street fair in front of the Superior Courthouse that will be filled with food vendors and live music. As mentioned by my colleagues, there have been some new hires and some addition to the El Centro family. This morning, we added 2 new people to our city team and promoted 1 part-time employee to full-time. We welcomed Jacqueline Rodriguez to our Community Development Department as a building inspector, and we welcomed Luis Lopez Alonso to our Public Works Department as an engineering technician. We also promoted Armando Casares in our Community Services Department from part-time to full-time status. As many of you know, February is National Library Lovers Month. And so it's the month dedicated to those who love the library and everything it encompasses. Our communications department has produced a video that shows our love for our library, and we'd like to show that video now.
As far as in the video?
We shall see. If we can find the video.
Hi, El Centro. February is National Library Lovers Month, and there's no better time to show our love for our library than now.
I love the library because it has a lot of varieties of books so we can read.
Because we do arts, watch movies, we play Uno. The most thing, I like it because I have fun with my friend right here.
Stop by to explore their incredible programs, check out a book, and discover your next adventure waiting for you on the shelves.
I like coming to the library because it's a place where I can read in peace and my daughter can come play and learn as well.
I love the library because it feels like a second home to my family and I. I enjoy coming to story time on Tuesdays where my children get to sing, dance, listen to a story, and make a craft.
Here I'm encouraged books to read in the photos because they have pictures and these are my favorite books.
Show your love for our library by coming to see all the wonderful things they have to offer. You'll be glad you did.
We love the library because they take out the stuff that we could swim and we play
I learned in the making of this movie, right, that there is quadruplets or quintuplets.
Yes.
And so you see the young boys all in the green overalls, they're all brothers, and then there's a sister, so there's a, what do they call it, paternal sister that's non-identical, a non-identical quintuplet. So there's a mother out there that is dealing with 5 kids at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so kudos to her,
Uh-huh.
but she is well known in the library, let me
Yeah.
tell you, and her kids as well. So
Wow.
so she is part of the library, right? She's very much part of that ecosystem and that community that is. So moving on, the city is also producing a video series called A City in Action. It's designed to highlight the great work our various staff is doing to bring programs, services, and just overall better quality of life for our residents. The next one video that you will see features our library department, which has amazing dedicated staff who bring free programs to our residents of all ages. And we would like to show you that video now.
It's that creative stuff.
Carla.
So here at the library, we have a lot of programs. We have one called Story Time, which is from the children from 0 to 5. That program basically is for us to dance, sing, and do craft with the children. It's something so the children can start developing skills of sharing, being with their parents and bonding, and also having time with other children. And also with that program, when we read to them each book, you can use it with something called Read 1,000 Books for Kinder, which is a program that we have that you can use all the books that we read in every book that you read to them at home too, and you log it in, and then every 100 books, we are here to give you a prize for your child, and then during the summer, you guys can put it together with the summer reading program, so you guys can double up on prizes for the children, and we do this the whole year round. So come and join us every Tuesday from 10 to 11 at the library. The El Centro Library also hosts a multitude of special events, including family nights. Those are family nights for children and their families, which are all free, that include activities like crafts, raffles, music, and snacks to enjoy with you and your family. We also have our upcoming summer reading program, which is this June and July. It runs for 6 weeks. It's all ages, including preschoolers, teens, school age, and adults. Very fun activities. We're going to have presentations, old and new. We're going to have Wild Wonders back again for the 3rd time this year in a row, which bring animals for the children to meet. We're going to have puppet shows, magicians, a Lego show that the children love. So don't forget, it's also all free. Registration starts the 2nd week of June and visit us this summer. Join us at the El Centro Library every Tuesday for Crafty Tuesday. We have it available for all ages at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And starting February 1st, we're actually doing a new program for Library Lovers Month. We're doing Blind Date with the Book. Come and choose a mystery book with a few things that you can cuddle in right by yourself and celebrate Library Lovers Month.
Here in the library, me and my staff are glad to help you in any shape or form. In Spanish, we have books Spanish, English, and for your children as well. We have DVDs, so you can check out too. Don't forget to get your library card. It's easy and free. All you need is 2 things: your California ID and proof of residence.
Hi, so you've been hearing about all of our programs here at the library. One special one that people love is the zip book program. If you come in here and you can't find a book that you like and you don't see it in our catalog, you can actually order it through the zip book program. It will come from Amazon free to your house. After you're done reading it, we just ask that you bring it back here, and then we'll add it to our collection. Everything is free. It's free to you, and it's free to us, and people love that program. You can find out all about all of the programs that you've just heard about when you go to our website or our Facebook page. We have a calendar of all of the events there. We will really look forward to seeing you.
Love it. What was that? I wasn't there for that part. But I will say thank you to the library staff. Thank you to the PIO and your staff for putting all of that together. Thank you. Great videos. Both videos are now published on our social media pages. Please take time to visit our beautiful library and their wonderful staff and check out their amazing programs. Information on all of their events, as mentioned, are on their social media pages and website. So thank you, colleagues. Thank you, public, for paying attention. And please remember, it's Library Lovers Month.
Yes.
So seeing no business before us, ladies and gentlemen, it is 8:41. We are now adjourned.